What it do, what it do, how y'all feeling? Welcome, this is AshnielzRadio. I am your host, Ashniel. That is I. So, we talking to y'all. Yes. So, supposedly, Trump had a ceasefire, and Israel violated it, and now he's mad. And the market was pumping last night. Y'all remember, we did it in real time as soon as the news came out around 4 o'clock, I think, Pacific time. The market responded to the ceasefire beautifully, took off. But I wake up this morning, and for some reason, Trump is on, well, I got it from Fox News. I've seen it elsewhere. But Trump is cussing out Israel, both countries. He's mad. And, yeah, I don't know if this market that we seen yesterday is going to hold. So let's see what happened and why Trump is mad at both countries, actually, but he's pissed.
But reports coming from the region suggest that the sides accuse each other for violating the ceasefire. So
I think they both violated it. I don't think I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay?
Have you spoken to him this morning? How confident are you that Iran is going to take a completely demolished?
I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those pilots, those B-2 pilots, did an unbelievable job. And, you know, the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives on the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean.
That Iran can rebuild its nuclear program?
Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon, and they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers.
They're real losers.
You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people, and the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times. But the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
Israel says that Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
They violated, but Israel violated.
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before.
They sure
the
did.
biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when
I say,
okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
They don't know what the fuck to do. Hey, that's Trump. That's Trump. He's pissed. He's pissed. And the reason I think he's pissed is because he had put all his eggs in one basket last night and called for a ceasefire and lied to us and said both parties agreed to it. Yo, both parties didn't agree to it. CNN last night, out of nowhere, said, oh, we just got word that Iran agreed to it. That was a lie. And it seemed like we're the ones, we're the ones being trolled. Y'all, the president's trolling us. Benjamin Netanyahu's trolling us. Everybody's trolling us. I don't know what the hell to believe, you guys. I don't know if there's a ceasefire. I don't know if Iran is being blown up. Israel's being blown up. One thing I do know is this market is uncertain. So we're going to see. We're going to see what the latest is, because this is all breaking. This is all within like an hour ago. Hold on. Let's see. I'm going to wait for some people to get up in here. Hold on real quick. Let me, I will bring the market up in a second. Give me a second. Let's just see what we have here. 1 second. But yeah, like I said last night, there will be opportunities to make some money in this volatility. There will be, yes. So figure it out. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna give you guys a watch list to pay attention to, like oil and others.
100 American aircraft and thousands of service members executed a remarkable global operation that significantly damaged Iran's nuclear infrastructure, although we still await the final battle
President
damage
Trump
assessment.
departs for NATO summit.
Personnel who
Iran
carried out
strikes
this
Israel
mission with incredible skill and bravery.
Look at it. Look at the headline.
It is
the
imperative.
headline said Iran strikes Israel amid ceasefire. Not Israel strike Iran. I heard that Israel violated the ceasefire, but this headline said that Iran violated the ceasefire. We'll see. We'll give it a second. I'm gonna go ahead and trade a little bit. We're gonna open up this
nuclear weapon.
these
However,
charts.
I'm concerned about the consequences.
I think we're being trolled, y'all, by our
Iran
own government.
already retaliated by launching ballistic missiles at our bases in Qatar and Iraq, threatening tens of thousands of American troops. Fortunately, these strikes were intercepted, but we must recognize the grave risk of igniting a broader regional war. And our forces in the region must continue to brace for additional attacks. And indeed, we've seen additional attacks between Israel and Iran. I urge the Trump administration to pursue diplomacy and international engagement to prevent further violence. Admiral Cooper, I trust that you understand the challenging situation within which you have been nominated to lead CENTCOM. In this regard, your distinguished record of service is encouraging. Your career as a surface warfare officer with extensive command experience in the Middle East, including your current position as Deputy CENTCOM Commander
how you feeling?
and previous command of U.S. Fifth Fleet, should serve you well. If confirmed as CENTCOM Commander, you will need to not only address the Iran crisis, but also continue to navigate the difficult environment surrounding Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza, the ever-present Houthi threat in Yemen, and the potential resurgence of ISIS in Syria and Iraq.
Like it was a long time.
All while the administration has announced significant force reduction in these areas. I'd like to know how you would address each of these threats and how U.S. military operations can align with Iranian nuclear negotiations and any plans you have to help build the capacity of our regional partners, such as the Lebanese armed forces.
This is what I want you to do. We're
listening here as the Senate panel continues their review of nominations for military commands. It does come as the situation in the Middle East continues to escalate, particularly between Israel and Iran, even though a ceasefire is in place at the moment. We also have this live image that we're getting out of the Netherlands as world leaders continue to arrive for the NATO summit. Also, President Trump is set to attend. We'll be right back.
Hold on, we're gonna mute that. Bring the market up. So, yeah, IWM. That's her. It's trading at $213 a share. All right, so what you would do? No, it says $213 a share. That's the Russell. See it?
This one say 156, I think.
Oh, yeah, you're on the wrong one. Woo! IWM. It's only three. It's only three letters. IWM.
Oh, there it is.
Mm.
Put the wrong one. There it is. I found it.
Okay, you see where you click on the chart. You see where it says trade. Hold on, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
You see right next to it where it says options. Click the options, right? That is just perfect.
brutally beating his former longtime girlfriend, Cassie, at a Los Angeles hotel back in 2016. Cassie was the first person to testify at this trial.
of the possibility of that?
Senator, I think as we sit here now, it's a very dynamic time. I'd be reluctant to make a strategic assessment or tactical assessment. I think that's best done by the intelligence community in the coming days. But for sure, the thing I think that we need to do right now, and we are doing with clarity, is making sure our men and women are safe in the Middle East. And that's where our focus is today, sir.
Oh, thank you. A final question for Admiral Cooper. The proxy network of the Iranians has been significantly degraded by Israeli attacks primarily, but also other factors, the change in leadership in Syria. How are we going to continue that denigration of the proxies? That's one aspect of it. Second, do you sense, and this might be reserved for the closed session, that those proxies will eventually come back to the Iranians and start being active?
Senator, first I would agree that proxies are significantly degraded, particularly Hamas and Hezbollah. If confirmed, it would be a priority of mine to deter conflict through both the deterrence of Iran and those proxies. I think we're going to have to continue to watch them very closely. While those two proxies have been degraded, we still have the Iranian-aligned militia groups that are out there, as well as the Houthis currently in a ceasefire with us.
We don't believe you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Iranian proxies, we don't believe them.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you both, Admiral Cooper, General Grinkowicz, for your service and for the service of your family to this country for many, many years. General, you're nominated not only to serve as commander of the U.S. European Command, but also as the Supreme Allied Commander, Europe, who is responsible for all NATO military operations and forces, and that includes the American nuclear forces that are assigned to NATO. NATO is a nuclear alliance. The role that you would assume in NATO has always been filled by an American, beginning with General Eisenhower in 1950. How do you view the role of nuclear deterrence with respect to the NATO alliance?
Senator, in my view, the U.S. strategic nuclear forces under the command of General Cotton at U.S. Strategic Command are really foundational to the security of all of Europe and foundational to the security of the alliance, as really, and also underpin global security in many, many ways. And they're absolutely essential. I also would note the forward positioning of certain nuclear capabilities on the continent, and those provide a very important backstop against any potential threat coming from the east.
You earlier were asked about the increased,
what it do, y'all? Good
the
morning.
higher
Good
role
morning.
of
How y'all
spending
feeling?
from
How y'all
our
feeling?
NATO
We got some news.
partners
We got some news.
to 5% of GDP.
So
I'm
supposedly,
curious.
both parties, Israel and Iran, violated the ceasefire. Supposedly, I don't know, but it seemed like Israel. Oh, let me get my light right. My light ain't right. Sorry, y'all can't see me. It seemed like Israel is being hard-headed, aggressive. Trump is trying to keep Israel from dropping. Hold on real quick. Oh, what the hell happened to my light? You can't see me. I don't want to have it so bright. But yeah, it seemed like Israel is the one that was violating the ceasefire. According to Trump, they dropped a bomb soon as the ceasefire came out. And he's like, what the hell? Nobody tell you to do that shit immediately. And now he says something about a bomb that dropped accidentally, on purpose, whatever. It's so much inconsistent news going on right now that we're trying to figure out as it's coming through. So we got Marjorie Taylor Greene, who basically is a MAGA, but she disagreed with the decision to drop a bomb on Iran. But hey, that's her president. That's her guy. She has to eat it too. Hold on, let's see.
The intra-party warfare / divide on this issue that the president has been trying to navigate. Right. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who obviously has been one of the most vocal of those saying he shouldn't have done the strikes. She said this to Manu Raju just a few moments ago. Take a listen.
we saw President Trump's measured response, and his message on Truth Social is exactly the same messaging that we elected him for. He wants peace, he wants this to end, and he's going to urge Israel that it's time to end.
I believe she said that Tamanu, before the president posted about the potential ceasefire. Of course, that comes a few hours, I think, after she posted on on X. It feels like a complete bait and switch to please the neocons, military-industrial complex contracts, and neocon TV personalities that MAGA hates and who were Trumpers.
Yeah, well, that's stupid. You know, I mean, part of the thing is we just, what, a month ago, Laura Loomer purged the last alleged neocons from the White House. There are no neocons, whatever she thinks a neocon is, other than some sort of perfidious bagel-snarfing warmonger. There are none in the White House, right? They've all been purged. Anyone who's suspected of being neocons has been purged. This isn't the Nikki Haley people making these calls. This is Trump and his team doing this.
Right? But if you look at 5 minutes, she came
and I personally think that Marjorie Taylor Greene is in a position, Tucker Carlson is in a position where they're talking as if they have a massive base of support behind them for their position, when in fact the polls don't.
I don't know if I'm buying it. I got a lot going on.
Israel is sort of a special case for a lot of evangelical Christians, a lot of, you know,
not financial advice.
Give a lot of allowances. And moreover, at the end of the day, Trump was kind of right. I mean, I don't like it, but Trump was right when he says, I get to decide what America First means, because ultimately the MAGA movement is a cult of personality, and you can't sustain being outside of off the team very long.
Contract, Chris, Democrats who have criticized a lot of elements of what we've seen over the course of the last 72 hours. The one constant kind of outlier has been Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, who said this. Take a listen.
Yeah, it's going to fluctuate. There's a lot of volume. There she goes.
For me, that's not a war. That was a very limited military exercise, and it struck that.
So if you can't
and
have,
that's where we're at.
So have the chart up next to you so you can see the candles moving the same time as the value of the contract, so you can understand what data, what theta is,
I think that
what
the concern,
delta is,
and
what
it
the
is
gamma is, and all of that.
When the action happened on Saturday, I think a lot of people were calling it a war, including President Trump.
She comes down.
One of the things that Democrats were really worried about was escalation, and they were worried about going into a conflict, and as you said, making this like Iraq all over again. And so I think the vast majority of the Democratic Party is not with John Fetterman, because we do not want another war. And so I do think that John Fetterman, you know, especially right out of the gate, kind of saying that he didn't see it as a war. We didn't know where this would go. We didn't know kind of the next. We still don't know where this is going to go and what the next few days are going to look like. And I think sort of jumping to conclusions like that is not smart when you don't exactly know what the dynamics are going to be in a few days.
Just real quick, because we got like 10 seconds left. Fetterman's role inside the party right now.
Yeah, I think that the Democratic Party is struggling to where Fetterman is at. I do think that there is a big question Fetterman is going to have to face about whether he's going to seek re-election and stay in the Democratic Party. I think he needs to think about his mental health first and his health overall, and whether he wants to do that, because it's obviously a big job, and I don't know where he's going to stand on that.
Top Republicans on Capitol Hill swiftly rallying behind President Trump following the strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear strikes on Saturday. But for a few outspoken Republicans who drew a line in the sand, take Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, a fierce Trump ally who in no uncertain terms said the military operation, quote, feels like a complete bait and switch on the MAGA agenda. Minutes before the president's ceasefire announcement, she said this.
I think what you're seeing is a very big divide in the MAGA base, and I think that's also something important to talk about. And I think it's generational. We've been lied to too many times, and I think it's right to be skeptical. But I think you're seeing a major divide in Republican voters.
Now, as a potential end to this conflict is on the horizon, the congressman writes on social media, "Thank you, President Trump, for pursuing peace." I want to bring in former Democratic Congressman Joe Crowley, also here, CNN political commentator Brad Todd. I'll begin with you for a second, Brad, on this point, because it is worth flashing back for a second to remember what some Republicans in Congress had to say to President Trump about, President Obama, about his air campaign against Libya in 2011. Listen.
change it to 1.
The Constitution is very clear. You don't go to war without a declaration.
This latest decision was taken without adequate consultation with Congress.
When you commit U.S. troops and resources to combat, you should consult with Congress.
Profit.
So let's just say this was a Democrat ordering this operation. Would there have been the type of support or silence?
Well, you know, in 2013, Barack Obama established a red line in Syria, and
I think
the
my
first
math is right.
people in
Sorry,
Congress to
I didn't
stand up and
smoke
say,
yet.
"We'll back you up on this," were Tom Cotton and Mike
But that
Pompeo.
would just make it, you know,
they were Republicans
risk-free.
who felt like
It's
he was doing the
I
right
took
thing in
14
Syria,
off,
and they
let's
wanted
see
to
what
make
the
sure
last
that
one do.
he knew
If you
that they
would've
had his
bought
back,
5
and they
of
offered to
them,
help
right?
enlist
You know what
other
I mean? Now
Republicans who
you're
would help
starting to
him.
see
The latter, of course, on the outside.
what it is
now,
that he's doing.
That's right.
For a second.
It's been a while. It's been a while. I think Congress always, leaders are always going to want to be consulted more. That's the role of the push-pull of the division of power between the Congress and the president. But I think in the end here, what I'm most surprised about is, you know, Chuck Schumer voted against the nuclear deal with Iran. I don't know why Chuck Schumer is not out here endorsing what President Trump just did. It's surprising to me. Steny Hoyer did. Steny Hoyer said the world's safer. I'm surprised we've not seen more Democrats who've long wanted Iran to not have a nuclear weapon to praise President Trump.
But Congressman, I mean, when you were in office, you expressed support and skepticism of the president's war powers. But he says they want to consult more. Isn't it something as simple as that, or should there have been more an in-depth consultation, as in it's Congress's right to declare it?
I
actually think politically, the president probably should have shifted some of this onto Congress.
Why?
Because you own it all. Maybe that's what he wanted to do. You know, he saw Israel being successful, and he wanted in on the game. And so he takes this move, but he controls it solely. There's been no vote. I'm not saying there will never be a vote. It could be months. It could be a year from now. We can actually do this again. But right now, the president owns it solely. And I do think, though, you're right, Brad. I think both in the Republican and Democratic Party, there is a divide on these issues itself. There's not everyone's seeing eye to eye on all this. I think when you have Democrats, Republicans who are sincerely concerned about the state of Israel, its right to survive as a state, and the imminent threat that Iran may pose to that and to the rest of the world, can look at it one way. But at the same time, the Constitution is clear that the Congress will declare war. This was a preemptive act. This was something that we were not attacked. Where the president went out and took this action. So I think there has been a clear crossing of that line again in terms of what is constitutional and what is not.
So what can Congress do about it?
Well, that's a good question, but when the president's party controls both houses, there's not a lot that Democrats can do at this point. They can try to use some procedures within the Senate, fewer in the House.
It's going to be our student. This is the
senators to express their dismay, but less in the House.
I mean, Democratic Congressman Alejandro Ocasio-Cortez speaking about impeachment as a solution. You've got Thomas Massey, who has his own views as well. I mean, Massey, of course, is facing a critique, shall we say, from President Trump on that point, saying that get this bum out of office ASAP. So, I mean, here you go. The clock is perhaps ticking, but so is, in some ways, the unanimity among Democrats and Republicans. You've got some divide on these issues.
There certainly are. There's a small group of what I would call doves in the Republican Party, but it's the terrarium compared to the size of the garden that's the rest of the party. You know, CNN's polling last week showed that 69% of Republicans felt like strikes would be in order. I guarantee you now, after President Trump did them in a decisive way and did them successfully, that number of 69 is about 99. The only people who now think this was a bad idea are Thomas Massey and a few internet commentators on the Republican side. Strength is the new ideology of the Republican Party, and he demonstrated it.
Do you think, I mean, Massey stands alone in his viewpoints on that? I mean, obviously, you have to wonder if this is a bit of a slippery slope. If you are doing something preemptive and going around what Congress can do, does this start a trend that concerns all congressmen and congressmen?
I think what the president did very quickly was to get right on Massey. You want to send a message to the rest of the members of Congress, especially the members of MAGA movement and the Republican Party. Get on the person right away who's outspoken against you. And he's done this before to Massey. Massey's been a target for
But Massey's he's strongly anti-Israel. He votes with AOC and the Squad every time on Israel. He votes like Bernie Sanders when it comes to this. There's just not a Republican who's ever been this anti-Israel in our memory.
What about Marjorie? Not for anti-Israel, what about Marjorie Taylor Greene's comments about the bait and
IWM with a
switch. Does that
pop.
carry any weight?
Now, IW is
Marjorie
coming
Taylor
up to
Greene
1
was
minute
for it
200
when it
right
worked.
now. She needs to break it. Spy
and
is...
so I think that will continue to be the case. And I think, you know, President Trump is comfortable with that. He's comfortable with taking bold decisions and knowing some people are going to get on board after it works.
Chris, did they sell it? Is it 105?
That's his comfort, but of course this is the United States with electorate.
Yeah, and you mentioned impeachment, and I think there's a weariness there. I think the American electorate are very weary of impeachment.
We learned that the hard way too.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, at the same time, at the very same time, is Congress feckless? Does it have any role in this process? And you know, again, Article 1 clearly states that the declaration of war must happen in the Congress, not in the presidency. I think they were concerned about the almighty president. You know,
they certainly were. Joe's right about where our founders were, but it's bedeviled Congress since 1968.
I don't know that we had an all's well that ends well clause of the Constitution, but we'll see. Joe, Brad, thank you both.
And then they ride these candles up.
Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome back. I'm Errol Barnett. Our top story this morning, the fragile ceasefire between Israel and Iran, which may not be holding. There were attacks leading up to the deadline, but afterward, Israel accused Iran of violating the agreement and ordered new strikes against Tehran. Israel's defense minister said Iran fired missiles, but Iran denied the allegation. Overnight, President Trump posted online that the ceasefire was in effect and wrote, quote, "Please do not violate it." And the president left the White House moments ago on his way to the Netherlands to attend a NATO summit. And he told the White House press pool there that he doesn't think the ceasefire is broken. And when asked if Israel is committed to peace, he said these countries have been fighting for so long, they don't know what they're doing. And yesterday, we saw Iran attack a U.S. airbase in Qatar. This was in retaliation for the weekend strikes against 3 Iranian nuclear sites. The president says Iran gave the U.S. a heads up about that attack. There were no casualties. Let's connect now with Weijia Zhang at the White House following the president's response. You also see CBS News senior foreign correspondent Deborah Patter. And I think, Deborah, we're going to begin with you in Tel Aviv. What is the state of this fragile ceasefire? And I'm wondering if there's any early reaction to the president's criticism of Israel this morning.
We're having a little action. Good morning, you guys.
You know, ceasefires are always stressful in the first few days. They're always fragile because both sides are watching, waiting to see what the other one is going to do and whether the peace will hold.
Y'all were with me yesterday. We know that there was a ceasefire, supposedly, that went out. Trump said, hey, everybody calm down. And then he told us, hey, the ceasefire is going to be in effect. And then there will be an ending of the 12-day war. Y'all, Trump called it a war. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And then he called it a 12-day war. Gave it some old special name, like we in the 1900s or something. And but yes, this morning we wake up and out of nowhere he's headed to a chopper. No tie on. First 2 buttons is unbuttoned, and he looks stressed out. And he says, verbatim, he says, these 2 countries don't know what the fuck they're doing. And he's pissed. So yes, we're just trying to see if we can snipe the market. Any this volatility, all you have to do is position yourself right, and you could probably make some money with Trump flip-flopping on his decisions. We don't know what's going on yet. I'm still watching ExxonMobil. I'm watching the S&P 500. The small caps, we're trying to see where the uncertainty lies. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you will be notified next time
the ceasefire between Iran and Israel will lead to a ceasefire in Gaza, where the humanitarian crisis is sinking into an even greater catastrophe. You know, some aid is getting in. It's not nearly enough. And almost daily we're seeing reports, Errol, of people killed trying to get food. These are starving Palestinians who head to the limited number of distribution points, mostly run by the Gaza Humanitarian Fund. And the United Nations' Philip Lazzarini was very strong today, saying the newly created so-called aid mechanism is an abomination. It humiliates and degrades desperate people, and he called it a death trap that's costing more lives than it saves. And just today, over 70 people were killed, 50 of them, Errol, trying to get food.
Wow, important to keep all of that in mind. Deborah Patta out of Tel Aviv for us. Deb, thank you. All right, now let's jump over to Weijia Zhang at the White House, where we've got a few headlines emerging just in the last hour, Weijia. We've got President Trump on his way to NATO and criticizing Israel, telling it not to drop bombs as he left from the White House. And I understand he's just sent another message online. Can you help us understand what that is and what this all means?
Yeah, Errol, well, first, we need to set the stage here because it was just 12 hours ago that he was celebrating the fact that he says he brokered the ceasefire between Israel and Iran. He posted congratulations to the world. It is time for peace. So fast forward to just a short time ago when he spoke here right before leaving for the NATO summit in the Netherlands. You can see here on your screen what he just posted, but that is because, and we'll get to that in a minute, but first we should set the stage for the viewers so they know what has transpired. So he expressed extreme frustration, Errol, because he said that both sides violated the ceasefire. And then when he walked away, he said, I'm going to go do something about it, essentially. And then just moments ago posted this. He said, Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So he is saying now that it is back on. That's after he was right here on the south lawn of the White House, really showing how frustrated he was, Errol, even using the F word to describe the fact that he says these countries didn't know what they were doing. Actually, we have a clip for you so you can hear a little bit of what the president said.
More boxes, more options. Grainger has over 1,700 box types in stock and ready to help you pack, store, and ship everything. And you can count on Grainger to deliver your boxes fast. Count on Grainger for boxes. Call or click Grainger.com/boxes today.
Oh, shit! No! Now, Chris, this is what I need you to do.
This brilliant device keeps your home cool in summer, even during heat waves and power outages. It's smaller than a lunchbox, cools any room within 3 minutes, and uses 98.7% less energy than your AC. It was invented by a former rocket engineer from Houston, and it's now taking the U.S. by storm. George designed this device after a citywide power outage left his grandparents without AC in the searing summer heat. With inside temperatures reaching 90 degrees, George took matters into his own hands. The result is an ingenious invention that's destroying the $5 billion AC industry, helping families around the country. Having worked on cooling systems for deep space rockets, he reverse engineered the existing aircon unit in his house and was able to build a more efficient cooling device. It sucks in the surrounding hot air, passes it through a liquid compressed cooling cartridge, and then blasts cold air back into the room. Immediately after he turned it on, temperatures in the sweltering hot living room plummeted from 93 to 63 degrees.
Why y'all didn't tell me I couldn't see?
I think so, but I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit, and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. It's ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either.
Okay, so the president was not happy. But again, just a short time ago, he posted on Truth Social that now Israel is not going to attack Iran and the ceasefire is back in place. So there is a possibility that he went aboard Air Force One, maybe hopped on the phone and talked to the Prime Minister Netanyahu. We don't know exactly how this transpired. But again, it's on this roller coaster, Errol, that we are closely watching because, you never know what's going to happen in the next 10, 20 seconds.
Yeah, and what's remarkable, Weijia, is that this roller coaster is highly visible. It was about an hour ago when the president left and made those remarks, and about 6 minutes ago when he posted that message online saying, okay, Israel will turn those planes around. We know the president is on his way to this NATO summit in Europe. Does that play into, or does this perhaps personify how publicly he's trying to show that he's either in control or creating a ceasefire situation?
Errol, you really nailed it here with this question, because we can report in the hours right before we started covering the U.S. strikes on Iran, and we were all asking the question, will he or won't he? A U.S. official told CBS News that one calculation going into the decision-making was that President Trump wanted to arrive to the NATO summit in a position of strength as it related to Israel and Iran. He wanted to be able to show in one way or another, whether it was going to be a deal or strikes on the nuclear facilities, that the U.S. had made progress toward ending Iran's nuclear program. And we saw that position of strength unfold yesterday because he was, as I mentioned, celebrating the fact that there was a peaceful end, that there was a ceasefire. He was also thanking Iran because its response to those U.S. strikes, he said, was calibrated, and he actually thanked Iran for giving the U.S. a heads up on that. So he was going to walk onto this world stage in his mind with something to celebrate, with something to show America's strength and his decision-making. And then that sort of all fell apart this morning, but now I think he's trying to repair that, because in just hours he'll be having dinner with more than 30 world leaders.
And it's a long flight to the Netherlands, and with such a fragile ceasefire, anything can happen. Weijia Zhang, thanks so much for clarifying all of that for us this morning.
That's how you Power companies hate when you do this, but there's nothing they can do about it. There's a new portable cooling system that can drop the temperature in a room by up to 30 degrees in just 90 seconds. And the crazy part, it runs on barely.
Yeah, the market is a game. It's a game that we have to figure out.
25%. Do I sell it?
It's up to you. This decision is mine.
We begin this morning with a Fox News alert. Israel now ordering the IDF to respond forcefully after claiming Iran violated their ceasefire agreement. The IDF saying missiles were launched from Iran after the midnight deadline imposed by President Trump.
In just the last few minutes, Israel ordering high-intensity strikes against regime targets in the heart of Tehran, and this violation of the deal comes less than an hour before the President of the United States is expected to leave for the NATO summit. You're watching Fox and Friends First on a Tuesday morning that is moving very, very rapidly. I'm Todd Pyro.
And I'm Carla Shimkitz. Let's get right to Mike Tobin with the very latest on the ground in Israel. And Mike, here we go again.
Since we sat there for that
Well, things are moving very fast, Carly and Todd. Iranian state TV now denies that they were that the Iranian government, the Iranian military, was responsible for those one or two missiles that went into Israel's north. We're still looking to confirm the specific number on that. Now, that missile was intercepted and landed without injury, but not without consequence. As you mentioned, Israel's defense minister and the chief of general staff have now vowed fierce retaliation for the violation of a ceasefire that wasn't quite 4 hours old when those missiles came into the north of Israel. But again, Iran is denying that they took part in that. Now, as the ceasefire was preparing to take hold, about 5 waves of ballistic missiles came in from Iran. One of them hit down here in Beersheba, where I'm standing right now. And as we look behind me, you can see what looks like the impact site from that missile is indeed the impact site from the missile. You can see rescue crews right now going through the rubble, searching for any possible people who are trapped in the rubble. It should be mentioned that no one is missing right now. They're just operating out of abundance of caution. One of the things I've seen the rescuers doing today is forming up an old-fashioned bucket brigade, carrying rubble out of that building just to clear as much space as they can. Now, we do know that a family of 4 was inside of the bomb shelter. That bomb shelter took a direct hit. Here is a spokesman from Homefront Command.
Piece of shit. I was like, what'd I do?
What we understand currently, the family was inside the shelter, and unfortunately, when we have a direct strike of a missile in the shelter, it did not always help.
Nevada drivers, do not pay your auto insurance bill until you hear this. If you are currently insured, drive less than 50 miles a day, and live in a qualified zip code, you can get an extremely high discount. Additionally, if you have no tickets, if you have not received a ticket in 3 years, you could get even more discounts. But do you think your auto insurance company will tell you that? I don't think so. Now listen to this. When Miranda, a good friend of mine, entered her zip code at comparisons.org, she was shocked. She found out her local insurance agent was ripping her off. Yes, literally, ripping her off. She actually managed to reduce her insurance premium by 50%. Now, this is the rule that everyone needs to know. Never, ever buy insurance without comparing rates and discounts from an unbiased source first. Survey data indicates it's possible to save more than $500 per year on car insurance rates, if you know how. So comparisons.org put together this free, simple 60-second quiz. And at the end, you'll get a list of the top offers that are catered to your specific driving preferences, zip code, and more. You could save up to 50%
you guys.
on your car insurance. So what are you waiting for?
Why y'all didn't tell me y'all couldn't see? Y'all got to start talking to me.
So those bomb rooms do a good job of protecting people in the blast radius, but when you have a powerful warhead like the one that came down here and it takes a direct hit, all 4 of those people perished. There was an additional 26 people who were injured by the force of that blast, and their injuries vary. So we're watching the situation. When these missiles were fired, the Israeli fighter jets were in the air over Iran. They detected the missile launches and struck back at least some of those missile launchers. So that has taken place all today, but the situation now, of course, is very fragile with Israel's defense minister and the chief of general staff vowing to strike back at Iran for what they say is a flagrant violation of the ceasefire. Iran now says they didn't do it. You could be looking to one of the other rogue elements, a rogue element inside of Iran, or one of the other proxies that are operating in the region. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, and Mike, what I'm hearing you say is at least one missile was intercepted after the ceasefire went into effect, but Iran is denying that it took part in that. So if not Iran, then who?
Correct. One missile in.
All right.
I'm sorry, my earpiece is going in and out, but at least one missile was intercepted. No injuries reported on the ground. The tops of the Israeli military saying that the ceasefire has been violated and saying that they'll respond.
All right, Mike Tobin live for us in Israel. Mike, we will check back in with you as warranted. With that, let us bring in former Deputy National Security Advisor and Heritage Foundation Vice President of National Security, Victoria Coates. And Victoria, you heard Mike Tobin say Iran is denying that their government was responsible for these strikes. But assuming that that is not correct, assuming that the Iranian government is ultimately responsible, is this a mere hiccup? Can the ceasefire be saved? Or has Iran potentially crossed a red line from which they cannot come back?
Well, Todd, unfortunately, this is the kind of messy period that generally happens around a ceasefire, where a side that is typically on the losing side is going to try to get a little bit more. They're going to try to have a last strike, something for domestic consumption that they can say that they, are still powerful. And we've seen what Iran is capable of. What they do is they fire at apartment buildings, at families sheltering in bomb shelters. This is hardly the stuff of a great military victory. Israel, on the other hand, is flying with impunity over Tehran right now, and I'm sure will take another strike on a strategic target, something like the missile launchers that will prevent Iran from doing this again. But it doesn't take away from what President Trump has achieved, which is that he's gotten both sides to agree to a ceasefire. It is time to end this war and consolidate Israel's and America's gains.
So you think that despite the fact that Israel is claiming that Iran launched a missile into Israel, and they're saying that the ceasefire is off, do you think that, like Todd said, could this be a hiccup? Could things proceed more peacefully in the hours to come?
Am I doing it? I might wait a little bit.
Well, Carly, I never want to refer to the death of a family as a hiccup. I mean, we have to be mindful of the seriousness of that.
Yeah, and
but
Victoria, understood
time,
on that point. The death of the family took place, and horrible that it happened. It took place before the official ceasefire went into effect, and now that it was, and now we're in a new world where every party agreed to a ceasefire, and then a missile was launched. So, how do people proceed forward?
Well, I think that we can proceed forward if the situation calms down, if Israel does take a retaliatory strike, and then we can get back to the ceasefire, because I think Israel has achieved largely their war aims. That's what they said last night. And so I think if the president gets involved, if Iran understands the seriousness of the situation, and that both Israel and the United States are prepared to go back in if they don't start behaving more rationally.
Yeah, I cannot imagine the president is happy with these latest developments out of Israel. How should President Trump respond?
Okay, so the daily 200.
Well, I think President Trump will respond decisively. I mean, I think he's going to make very clear to the Iranians these are the terms. They are in an extremely weak position. Both Israel and the United States can act, as I said, with impunity against them. And so it is beholden on Iran now to start becoming a more responsible partner here. They have been given every opportunity, both before this war started, to engage in diplomacy, and now the president yesterday offering them the opportunity to come to the table and come to terms. Now, his patience, as we've discovered, is not infinite. So this better shut down now, and they better come to the table in the mood to make concessions so that we can get to the end of this war.
Yeah, and President Trump is going to be leaving for the NATO summit in just a few hours. What will the conversation during the NATO summit be surrounding all of this?
Well, I think it's going to be about the need for NATO to take a lot of responsibility for what's happening in Europe. This is a big demonstration of all of the obligations the United States has around the world, not just in Ukraine, also in the Middle East, also in the Pacific. So I think the president is going to go back to one of his signature issues, which is making the rest of NATO pay its fair share for the defense of the alliance. And we have the top 10 economies in NATO, the top economy being the United States. The other 9 are clinging at 2% of GDP to defense, not the 3.5 they need to be at. They're not even close. And so I think he's going to be laying down the law there and saying if NATO is going to proceed into the 21st century, if it's going to be relevant, it has to literally have cash on the barrelhead here. We don't want pledges. We don't want some sort of projection of maybe getting to 2% in 3 or 4 years. We want them to pay it now.
Assuming, for argument's sake, that Iran, their government, is responsible for these strikes and not some proxy group like Mike Tobin alluded, could be the case in light of the fact that Iran is denying that they are involved in this. Did Iran pick this timing in order to embarrass President Trump as he heads to NATO? And if so, how big of a miscalculation is that?
Well, I don't know how specific it was in terms of embarrassing the president. I would say that it was a miscalculation on the part of Iran if they were responsible. It's kind of this, as I said, this gray zone around the establishment of a ceasefire that it can be kind of a difficult period, but I think the key is for him to send the message to the Iranians that this is unacceptable, that they want to get to diplomacy, they're going to have to start acting responsibly, and otherwise, he's going to take the gloves back off and let the Israelis go back in.
And this is the statement from Defense Minister Israel Katz. I have instructed the IDF to respond forcefully to Iran's violation of the ceasefire with high-intensity strikes against regime targets in the heart of Tehran. So with that, would you say that the war is officially back on right now?
Oh, I just sold all of them for 52.
Well, let's see what the Israelis actually do. I think some targeted strikes in response to this would be proportionate, and then the ball goes back into the Iranians' court. So I think we'll see what the next couple of hours bring. But this was not a good move on the part of the Iranians. But I do think the ceasefire is recoverable.
And finally, Todd alluded to it, but Israel is saying that one missile was intercepted, and Iran is denying that they took part in it. Could it have been a proxy and not an Iranian strike, or is Israel able to tell and determine that this was coming from Iranian airspace?
Well, if we haven't figured that out yet, Carly, we will be able to figure out in pretty short order. And I would be a little bit surprised because the Iranian proxies have been remarkable for their silence over the course of this 12-day war. We haven't seen a single rocket fired from Hezbollah. Hamas has been quiet. Even more surprisingly, the Houthi have been quiet. So it's possible one of them might have fired something off. But as I said, the Israelis are going to be able to tell pretty quickly what the trajectory of this thing was, and I'm sure they will publish those results.
And to that point, it would be odd for the proxies to act now, which really does call into question Iran's denial of them being responsible for this strike. Victoria Coates, we threw a lot at you. Breaking news literally minutes before our show started. We appreciate you and your insight this morning.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Yeah, I hit 3.
So the President of the United States, obviously really direct. He's disappointed that the ceasefire was breached. And it was, as far as I could tell, the ceasefire was breached by the Iranians. And what the Israel did was within their rights. They had 12 hours before it ended. They got some targets to finish up. So I think the president said in the spirit of ceasefire, he could have leveled off a little. But it doesn't seem like Israel actually violated the ceasefire. But Iran, they did. The IDF now will strike back, according to the defense minister, Israel Katz.
Well, I think what you're saying from this president is he likes being in the middle with conflicts. He likes to be the negotiator there. I think when it came down to the Iran situation, he was very clear they couldn't have a nuclear weapon. But I think his point is, when I said ceasefire, don't wait up all the way into the moment till the clock runs out. He didn't like seeing that as well. He's clearly frustrated this morning. He doesn't like the coverage. He feels like that they're not celebrating our great military and the successful mission that they had from the other networks.
We still haven't heard from Benjamin.
I mean, it reminds me of Marco Rubio over the weekend was being interviewed by one of the networks, and he said, I think I know more than you do. Exactly, because I have the intel. He's the President of the United States. He has the intel. So it should give you peace of mind when you hear him say that the nuclear facilities that we targeted are gone, obliterated under rocks, he says. He said they are gone and Iran will never rebuild their nuclear facilities. And he was thanking the B-2 pilots and wants apologies from other networks who were saying, we're not sure if these nuclear sites were obliterated, but it should give you peace of mind when you hear our president say that they are, that the mission was successful.
But here's the question. Where do you go from here? As Mark Levin wrote last night, he was upset by this. He said, we didn't give a lifeline to Hitler. That's how bad these guys are. They've lost their Air Force. They have no ground-to-air protection. China didn't step in. Russia didn't step in. Not a single Arab country stepped in. The supreme Nazi is hiding in a bunker, much like Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler wasn't thrown a lifeline. He wasn't thrown a lifeline. He was going to be killed, so he committed suicide. So that's what, even though the ceasefire is to be lauded, if they stay in power, are we postponing another conflict? For example, are we going to lift the sanctions? If we lift the sanctions, they're going to get some money. And if they get some money, are they not going to fund Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, the Houthis, again, foment terror sleeper cells here? What did Iran say to make you think that they have anything but hatred for us and Israel?
But isn't it up to the Iranian people to decide who their leader will be? I know that many of them are too scared to go up against the Ayatollah. But
I'm not saying that we should. I'm just saying that if he stays in power, is our security in jeopardy? And does Israel's remain in jeopardy?
Absolutely. He yells death to America.
I think one of the complicated things is that this is a president that continues to say he wants to be the president of peace. And Brian, we talked about this on your radio show. It's hard to get peace with a group of people that have such a radical ideology, that hate your very existence.
Just one side.
I mean, it's just the truth. They don't want Israel to exist. They don't want us to exist. They hate the West. And it's kind of hard to negotiate with people that believe that you're an infidel. They don't have to tell you that.
Indoctrination. They've had their entire lives been told that.
But here's the great hope I have. It is really one country that's a problem. Syria, they're trying to rebuild. We've released sanctions. You know that in Syria they got huge billboards. Thank you, President Trump. So why? Because they're giving them a chance. Egypt is not a problem. Bahrain is not a problem. Qatar is not a problem. UAE is not a problem. Saudi Arabia is not a problem. What is the problem? It's that country. country. And the question is, do you give them a lifeline? And because do they have a choice but to step down? The fact that the Ayatollah said we're going to give just a symbolic shot at the U.S., and then can we talk? Yeah, absolutely take advantage of it. But you know what's got to be included in that? You got to be including that. You cannot fund the proxies. You cannot have ballistic missiles. You certainly can't have a nuclear program. And, you know, if something happens here with a sleeper cell.
Work-life balance with Betterment, the automated investing and savings app. We do the work, earning you more in a high-yield cash account, while you live your life. Make your money hustle with Betterment.
Where Mo at? Mo over there?
I don't know where Mo at.
Searching for a reliable used sedan? Shop the area's best selection of affordable vehicles at unbeatable prices. Want a vehicle with low mileage? We have a wide selection in stock and ready for delivery. Buy with peace of mind with a multi-point inspection, a free vehicle history report, and a limited time warranty. Visit us online or stop by our dealership today to discover incredible savings across our entire inventory.
It's only 8, bro. All right.
Iran's directly responsible. They have to be aware that we know that.
The president on his way to Air Force One, he said to the reporters, as soon as I finished talking with you, basically, it sounded like he's going to call Benjamin Netanyahu and try to work this out. Alexandria Hoff is live at the White House with the latest for us. Hey, Alex.
Hey, good to be with you. Yeah, the president, he is angry. He is mad. He is mad at both sides here, making that abundantly clear. I mean, you heard the profanity that he had used. He mused at one point that, yes, there might have been some proxies, some tagger-alongers on the Iranian side who might have not adhered to this ceasefire. But either way, he is upset that Israel has reacted so quickly to this when he thought that this was really their opportunity, that he would come in and broker a ceasefire, which could still happen, as we know. I mean, this could just be, as Mike Tobin was talking earlier, the kind of ping-ponging that can happen when there is a deadline on a ceasefire. But either way, President Trump is highly frustrated. He's frustrated, and something I could sense was he expressed some frustration at some of the media portrayals of the effectiveness of Saturday's Operation Midnight Hammer in debilitating Iran's nuclear capabilities. And he sees some of that as disrespectful to those B-2 pilots. But I think he is also saying here that Iran and Israel are disrespecting the actions of those American heroes who had gone out there on that 30-plus hour mission to help accomplish what President Trump was optimistic last night that could happen. There could be peace between countries that historically there is a chance there never could be in many ways. But, you know, as you heard the president say, they've been fighting for so long that they are just in such a tornado of emotions with something like this that they can't stop themselves from continuing to fight. So the president right now, he is heading to Amsterdam. He left the White House here about a half hour ago now. He's going to arrive in Amsterdam around 1 p.m. This will be for the first NATO summit of his presidency. I want to, though, get back a little bit into what is kind of leading up to all this, because there were some people who last week would have thought, or this weekend, thought he might not even head on this trip now. But he said that really he was optimistic last night. So you have to look at these emotions from last night and then into this trip today. It's a pretty long journey. But he thought that this was an end to the 12-day war, as he had called it. And if it was so, and if it would work out as it should, he said it would be something saluted by the world. And more has come into focus from yesterday afternoon until now in terms of Iran's retaliatory strike on the American air base in Qatar. The administration and really the rest of the world considers this to be a show and a wink away from Iran to tell its people that they hit back at the U.S. without truly making impact. I'm going to read a Truth Social now that the president, when he really kind of explained what was going on here, he said, quote, Iran has officially responded to our obliteration of their nuclear facilities with a very weak response. I want to thank Iran for giving us early notice, which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody injured. Now, that Iran had launched at least 14 missiles towards that base, which were intercepted and destroyed by Qatar. One of them just didn't hit. So not a bad exchange for the U.S., which through Operation Midnight Hammer Saturday was able to obliterate, according to the White House, Iran's nuclear capabilities. So when it comes to The Hague and President Trump being at the NATO summit, I mean, this is going to be I don't want to say tense, maybe. I don't know if it's tense or as tense as it could have been, but we have two wars still happening right now. Israel, Iran, also Russia and Ukraine. Both of them, President Trump has been trying to be a brokering asset in both.
What's up,
and it's the first NATO summit of his second term. So he's going to arrive there tonight. That's really going to get going tomorrow. There is some positive news here on the defense spending side, because one of President Trump's goals going to the Hague.
How is she going to say? How the headline going to say that? Trump not happy with Iran. Pause. Still pause. He's not happy with Iran either. Bro, DOD. Iran was the only one that said they were willing to stop. They were willing to honor the ceasefire. Israel did it. So for Fox News to be like, he's not happy with Iran. Nope. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Iran is trying their hardest to hold on to their fucking country. These invaders from Israel. And we got to take our hats off. Hold on. We got to take our hats off. I'm going to take off my tinfoil hat. Hats off, you guys. Hats off to the Ayatollah, because keep it 100. I don't give a fuck about the propaganda and the spin. These sons of... I ain't going to call us sons of bitches, even though we're sons of bitches. America, Western leaders and all of that, they've been trying to overthrow Iran since the 50s. Y'all, since the 50s. And mind you, there was no rhetoric coming out of Iran about death to America prior to the 50s. So it's almost like we initiated the hate towards our nation. So now fast forward 50 years later, we still trying to demonize these people. The same talking points. Oh, these brown folks this, these brown folks that. Watch out for the Muslims in your local area. But the reason we should take our hats off and commend them is because they've been fighting off a very powerful superpower. Us, America. We have never had the chance to colonize and overthrow their government like we've been trying to do for years. So for Trump to sit here and pretend last night that there was a ceasefire, it almost makes sense that Benjamin Netanyahu did not agree to it, not coming to the table, and he is not stopping the bombardment because he don't want to take this L. He do not want to take this L from Iran, because if he do, then he know that it is over with. If Iran, because remember, we were allies. We were allies with Iraq when Saddam Hussein was in office. We actually tried to help Saddam overthrow Iran. It didn't work. Iran fucked our troops up, and next thing you know, we went to war with Iraq. Crazy as shit. But yes, I think Trump got played, and there's going to be a point where he tells Benjamin Netanyahu, you got me fucked up.
Was convincing allies to increase their defense spending to 5%, to make this a pledge among allies. And what we're hearing right now, that it appears that those member countries will be doing so. All of those members, aside from Spain. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
Spain, go ahead.
No, real quick, Alex, because you were there.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
The president was clearly angry. Was it a question that was posed to the president, or was he angry more about the conflict that was happening?
Yeah, a brand new, super efficient air conditioning system installed, and do not put a single penny down in the process. That's right, guys. Not only is this system going to keep our home perfectly cool, even in 100+ degree summer heat, but right now, as we head into the summer months, we have an incredible offer going on. Get your new air conditioning system installed for $0 down with 0% interest financing. That means you can spread out the cost of that new system over time and not pay a single penny in interest. Click the link below if you'd like more information, and we will text you over the offer details.
A photo of the signed agreement. Supposedly a photo.
Here's how you can take advantage of infinite banking.
Let's go ahead to the Twitter. Let's see if
Step
we can
1.
find this agreement.
Purchase an index
Let's see
universal
if,
life insurance policy.
2 names
also
is
known
on it,
as an IUL.
and 1 is missing from Israel.
Step
We'll
2.
see. Let's see.
Keep your policy active.
Because
IULs are
one
built
of
with the
the
ability to grow
clauses
cash value over time by
Iran
linking returns to
had
an
to
index
be
like the
in
S&P
this
500.
ceasefire
You will fund the
was
policy with a portion of your payment
ceasefire
covering the cost of
on
insurance, and the rest going to your cash value. The
ceasefire
funds
in
in the
Gaza.
policy can
We have to
generate
have a
returns
ceasefire
up
in
to a
Gaza
cap
before
rate,
they agree
such
to
as 9%.
anything.
But never fall below a floor, usually 0%. This means your cash
How you
value
feeling?
can
How you
participate in
feeling?
market gains,
Good
but
morning.
is typically
Good morning.
insulated from market losses.
Community.
Step 3.
We are here.
Take out a
I've been streaming
participating
for
loan.
an hour and
Participating
26
loans can give you the
minutes.
ability
Hour
to
and
borrow
26
against your
minutes.
policy's cash value
right.
and still generate compound interest
The
on the returns
Iranian
of those
military.
funds. Here's an example.
They
if
didn't
you
post
have
anything.
$500,000
Last thing
in
they
cash
post
value and loan yourself
the
$250,000,
destruction.
you would now
in
have
Israel.
$250,000 tax-free.
Let's see if the IDF.
And, critically, your returns would still be based on the pre-loan amount of $500,000. This means if you had a 6% rate of return in a given year, your policy would be eligible for the full $30,000 worth of gains that year. Step 4.
5 hours ago.
Use the funds
so all
from
of
the
this
loan
is
as
late.
you see fit.
Okay, yeah.
You
we
can
don't have
purchase
any
a rental
updates
property,
on that.
pay for
Let's
college
see,
tuition,
Benjamin
supplement your
Netanyahu.
retirement
Let's see if
income,
BB got
whatever you'd
anything
like.
to see. BB
Because
had
you
been
are effectively
quiet
the
for
bank.
a week.
There is no credit check or limits on how you can use the money.
BB has been quiet.
Step 5. Decide when you want to pay back the loan.
Oh, he came out last night
While
after
the
the
loan is
destruction of
outstanding,
Israel.
you will be charged a low
BB.
interest rate that is
BB.
ideally less than the
It's
compounding
fake.
return
Yeah, because I
your
would have been.
funds are generating in the
I would have
policy.
been had it. It's not.
And when you pass away, any outstanding amount
not
will be
listening to Alex
deducted
Jones.
from the benefit that goes to your beneficiary.
And
that's it.
We're Coleman.
You now know how to become an infinite banker. If you have more questions, you can always schedule a free meeting with one of our experts at getamplifylife.com.
You are. Huh?
Between Israel and Iran.
Yeah, I don't think the question prompted the frustration and the anger there. This was something he was ready to express. I think whether the question was asked or not, he had posted on social media as well to Israel, do not drop those bombs. Like, this is up to you now. You are the power force in this. Hold back.
Now, but was Israel responding? Okay, so there's ceasefire. And then was Israel just responding after they were attacked again by Iran?
And yeah, that's how Israel is explaining it, that they're saying that Iran broke this ceasefire and that they have no choice but to respond. And President Trump is saying you do.
Right. Thanks so much, Alex. Here's the exact Truth Social post. Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do, it is a major violation. Bring your pilots home now, Donald Trump. So just get this clear. He did not like the pace of the bombing as Israel looked to finish off as many targets as possible by 4 a.m. But it was Iran that broke the ceasefire deadline. Now it's Israel that's answering back. And they said, Israel Katz, we're hitting back. So to me, this could be a skirmish. But Iran didn't clarify. Iran said we didn't do it. Well, believe me, one thing Israel's good at is picking out who's bombing them because they have so much practice. They would know for sure if this was the Houthis. They knew the direction it was coming. It seems to us from the outside, seems like a mistake on Iran's part, one that necessarily wasn't green lighted by the headquarters to me, because there's no benefit from them violating the ceasefire. They need it much more than Iran needs. Israel needs it. And the other thing is, I actually don't think I think if Israel had their choice, they'd never be fighting. It's not two people who forgot what they're fighting about. It is one country that made it their mission to destroy another country, and that country is fed up, and they said, we are going to take you on, and we're going to take out your surrogates first. They did that. They're taking them on, and while they were on a respirator, they got a ceasefire. So they got their oxygen mask.
So let's get the read from the ground. This is all moving very quickly. Mike Tobin joins us live from Israel with the latest. Mike,
oh yeah,
what are you learning about this? Is there any response from the Israelis based on the president's comments just here recently?
I don't know. Benjamin going to be mad you put their name first.
Well, let's look back on the president's comments as we saw this flurry of airstrikes followed by missile strikes here in Israel. Some of those missile strikes in the lead up to the ceasefire deadly. We had somewhat of a benign missile strike that violated the ceasefire. And one thing they've resulted in is a very frustrated president of the United States.
intel moving.
I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that.
That one rocket this morning that didn't land.
Israel says it was actually 2 rockets. An infuriated defense minister, Yisrael Katz, said the following. I've instructed the IDF to respond forcefully to Iran's violation of the ceasefire with high-intensity strikes of regime targets. So a clear indication that Israel is intending to retaliate today. Now, the destruction that you see behind me, this came right at the end as the ceasefire was supposed to take hold. A massive missile that came from Iran. If you look over my shoulder here, you can see the impact site where the base of that ladder is hooked into this apartment building. There was a family that was sheltered or that was in their bomb shelter. They took a direct hit. These bomb shelters do a good job protecting people in the blast radius, but the people cannot survive when they take a direct hit from some of these massive warheads that we have seen the Iranians pull out of their arsenal. Now, Israel did fire back at a couple of missiles.
Me, Fox News, everybody in the media, they're like, we don't know. We can't put our finger on it. We don't know what the fuck this dude's gonna say in the morning. We don't know. So in the meantime, in between time, make your money. Don't swing nothing, cause we know at nighttime shit could change. But yeah, just
site. They're hitting hospitals, places of worship. Beersheba, which is an area that has a mixed community of both Muslims and Jews. These targets have no direct religion in their crosshair. The only thing in their crosshair is our civilians.
Hold on. Hello? I got to check on my wall.
So we have 4 people who were killed at this location, 26 people wounded. The extent of their injuries really varies. Aggravating situation with the 2 missiles that came in after the ceasefire, and you have a very aggravated president of the United States trying to calm the 2 parties down. Guys, back to you.
So, Mike, there were fatalities in this missile strike, right?
From Iran.
There were fatalities in the missile strike behind me from Iran, 4 of them, 26 injuries. But keep in mind, this is a missile strike that came in really as the ceasefire was about to take hold. We often see these flurries of activities right before a ceasefire. This was an impact from that. Don't confuse this with the 2 missiles that came in about 4 hours after the ceasefire.
Okay.
Gotcha. And they know the difference between the Houthi rebels' long-range missiles and Iran. Said they don't. There's never been much confusion about that.
Hold on. Let me ask my community.
When the Houthis fire comes up the Red Sea, you can see it. They're detected in the Israeli town of Eilat right down there in the.
I got a video for you guys. So we all know what's going on in the country, right? We see these ICE raids that Trump had inflicted on California only. It seems like. We have a story where an employer got in the way because ICE came to detain his workers, right? So the employer was asking, the basic questions. Where's your warrant? Who are you? What's your name? What's your badge number? Of course, ICE is like, we ain't got to tell you shit. Fuck off. Well, the employer was like, this cost me X amount of money. Somebody's gonna have to reimburse me. And then the ICE agent was trying to play lawyer. Like, well, did you hire some illegals? And it's your fault that you hired these motherfuckers because now you voided your contract. Bro, he will be right if he can prove that he is an ICE agent, right? So what happened, hold on, I'm gonna bring this video to y'all. What happened last night, and mind you, this isn't the only story, was we had an individual, right?
Growing your money shouldn't feel like a second.
Pretend to be an ICE agent. Went to this place of employment, told some lady to come with him. He zip tied her and stole $1,000 from the register or something. So I asked everybody, if you had your employees and ICE came to so-called deport them, what would you do? That is my question. So I'm gonna play this video. Y'all tell me. Think about it. Ponder on it. Would you fire on them? Would you request the proper paperwork, the warrant from them, or would you stand back because you're scared that you may go to jail too, like you've been seeing online all week? I don't know. But some of these employers are getting in the way and they saying, fuck you, ICE. And I love it. So look, and this case right here that I'm getting ready to present to y'all is going to be a chilling case. This is a case where a woman was robbed by a fake ICE agent. And now these ICE agents, these little moles, these little pretendos, they're going to make it worse for everybody. Hold on. So yeah. What I would do is
Good morning, everyone. I'm 88 Joe Lanuti. I'm the Assistant Chief of the Gun Violence Task Force, and today I'm announcing the arrest and charges for a Mr. Robert Rosado. Mr. Rosado has been charged with robbery, a felony in the first degree, and related charges in connection to a commercial robbery that occurred on June 8th, 2025 in Northeast Philadelphia.
So this guy
specifically 6500 Harbison
He's charged
Avenue.
with robbery.
To a commercial robbery that occurred on June 8th, 2025 in Northeast Philadelphia.
How
specifically
scary would this be?
6500 Harbison Avenue.
Mind you, hold on. He's charged with robbery. Mind you, we just had a Democratic representative lose her life with her husband because some guy knocked on their door pretending to be a cop, right? So all these play cops, right? It's starting to get dangerous. People are getting killed and people are getting robbed. So now, that's why I asked the question now. I didn't ask this question 2 weeks ago. I asked this question now. Would you step up? Would you demand paperwork and documentation from these motherfuckers that claim to be immigration task force? Or would you stand back and be like, hey, because my wife uttered some shit that there may be some of these people, innocent people, that are being snatched up and just disposed of. We don't even know if they're going to an ICE detention center. They might just be going to a landfill. We don't know. So yes, it is important for these sons of bitches to identify themselves.
Mr. Rosado went to this auto center and committed this crime. The allegations are as follows. He entered into this store masquerading as an immigration officer. He announced that he was with immigration. He informed the employees working there that there were, quote, illegals present. He then zip-tied one of the employees behind her back, as you can see here on the right.
Zip-tied? Look at this.
He then proceeded to take approximately $1,000 in cash from the business. He then fled in a white van. This matter was assigned to Northeast Detective Zanatich, who was assigned to this case. He and Officer Daniel Butler both canvassed the area for surveillance footage of that white vehicle and were able to find the tag, which was registered to the defendant. At that point, the FBI Violent Crimes Task Force assisted detectives in locating Mr. Rosado.
Wow.
We executed 2 search warrants at residences connected to Mr. Rosado. At this location, we recovered a holster, a black radio, a zip tie, a fake badge, a black handheld radio.
He had zip ties, a fake badge,
as well as an airsoft gun.
Airsoft gun.
Mr. Rosado was taken into custody last Wednesday.
Oh my goodness.
And just to be clear, when Mr. Rosado entered into this property, as you can see in that first image, he was wearing a black baseball cap, a tactical vest that said Security Enforcement Agent. He had a badge around his neck with a chain. He was wearing a holster with what appears to be a firearm inside, as well as a black handheld radio and blue latex gloves. Again, Mr. Rosado was taken into custody last Wednesday and is currently being held on $800,000 bail, which was set by the magistrate. I'd like to thank our law enforcement partners, both the Northwest detectives at the PPD as well as the FBI's Violent Crime Task Force for their investigation and acting so quickly to make this arrest. I'll turn things now back to the district attorney. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. So let's just talk about this for a minute. This is a retail establishment, has something to do with automobiles. Where did the most highly publicized ICE raid in Philadelphia occur? It's a car wash.
Right. A car wash.
Some people, and that case, by the way, is underway and being prosecuted. It involved, if I recall correctly, 3 young men wearing fraudulent shirts, meaning the shirt said ICE agent, or words to that effect.
Right.
And they were fraudulent.
They were fraudulent.
Who tried to get into a secure dorm of a university by claiming that they were law enforcement and they were there to do something lawful. They
tried to get inside a secure dorm room. You guys, these creeps tried to get inside a secure dorm room with a fucking fake ass ICE shirt that they got off of Amazon. Y'all. And you mean to tell me we can't have proper identification before you start putting your hands on human beings? Come on, man. Come on. This
arrested, they got charged.
I'm glad this happened.
They're going to go to trial. What enables this? What enables this? How have we gotten to the point where 7.5 years into this administration, for the first time that I recall, we have seen 2 separate instances of people committing crimes who are doing it under the pretense that they are ICE agents. How did we get here? Well, I think we know that, unfortunately, coming from a man who himself has 34 felony convictions, that would be Donald J. Trump. I think that we know that his game has been fear, it has been division, it has been hate, it has been a deliberate effort to dehumanize immigrants. Even the conduct, the legitimate conduct of ICE, meaning conduct that complies with the law. I'm not saying it's moral, but even that conduct, not wearing their names visibly, masking up. A climate has been created in which it is hard for people to tell the difference between a fake ICE agent and a real ICE agent. A climate has been created where people almost expect that they may not get due process if there's an ICE raid.
Right.
This is not a new phenomenon. There have been policies and there have been people in U.S. history who have so dehumanized a particular group that it became easy for American criminals to prey on them. 5,000 lynchings in the United States.
Right.
More,
Say it.
actually.
Say it.
5,000 lynchings. If you look at the history of serial killers in the United States and elsewhere, you will find that very, very often they serially victimized, marginalized people, especially prostitutes, sex workers, people who were so stigmatized and so afraid to go to law enforcement for protection that they were easy prey in the minds of serial killers.
And that's
the policies
kind of
coming from Washington, D.C.
This is the kind of shit that they don't want us to talk about. They would call it race baiting, virtual signaling, you just bringing up old shit, as if our history means nothing, as if our history isn't echoed when we see situations like this happen. Mind you, the what they call them. What was the name of the task force that was picking up the slaves? Slave catchers. They had a name. They had a name for the slave catchers. And that's the origin of the police force in America. We didn't have police prior to rounding up slaves. Nah, we ain't had buildings that we had to protect. Nope, it was no police going around to these government buildings or lawyers going having clients coming in and doing these cases that may be serious and contentious, and there's a bailiff sitting there waiting to arrest somebody and shoot some. Nope. The origin of police in America was to bring back runaway slaves. That's it. So yes, we have a history of law enforcement, which is not pretty. There's nothing that we are, that we can sit back and be like, oh yeah, our cops that we grew up with, they played basketball with us in the neighborhood. Yeah. No. Like this guy said, the minority community have a different kind of reality when it comes to police. So with these ICE agents coming over here with masks on and fake ass badges and shirts from IKEA, it echoes something in us that is scary. Something from the past that is racial, has some kind of racial undertone. And this America, these kids today, the people we are today, we're not our grandparents. These fake ICE agents are going to get hurt. They are. And I think that's the idea. I think they're a pawn. I think the president wants them to get hurt. That way he can have a reason to put martial law on the streets. He going to actually put the military. If somebody decides to answer one of these ICE agents with violence, guarantee you we will have the military on the streets the next day. So yes, it's important for us to have identification out of these ICE agents because as black folks, we don't deal with the police well anyway. So if there's some fake ones going around, best believe we gonna have some fucking problems. So I'm glad he said that. I'm glad he said that. It's a white man. It's a white man bringing up our history.
People of color into easy prey for American criminals, U.S. citizens. The irony of this whole thing.
Tell it.
Only one of the ironies, but the irony of this whole thing
like, bro, we was being snatched up and lynched by
is that guy committing this crime is a U.S. citizen.
Mind you, the last task force, they had hoods on. We couldn't see them. Next thing you know, when they took their hood off, that was the judge, the mayor, the city official. So yes, sorry, we need
to hear a bunch of nonsense about how immigrants are all a crime wave, when all the data shows that they are far less likely to commit crimes than U.S. citizens. This is the madness that has been created by these policies. I consider this crime to be more serious than most robberies. I consider it to have a special layer to it, which is it not only preys on people, U.S. citizens and immigrants, it does so in a way that demeans law enforcement. It does so in a way that endangers law enforcement. It does so in a way that blurs the line between crime and law enforcement. And while that might be fine with a president who has 34 felony convictions himself, it's not fine to me.
34 felony convictions himself.
Doing this under the guise, the lie, the fraud of being an ICE agent is a reason to seek a very high sentence.
Yep. Oh, they trying to throw the book at
It's a lot more serious. This is essentially a crime that is committed against a whole group of people.
Yes. Impersonating a police officer is not enough.
Terrible.
Yes.
And I am disgusted.
I'm disgusted too.
That the guy in D.C. is not helping, that he is the problem. And he is a problem. He is a significant problem. It is not a coincidence that we have two of these cases only recently and none before that.
Can't be giving out financial advice on my show.
More boxes, more options. Grainger has over 1,700 box types in stock and ready to help you pack, store, and ship everything. And you can count on Grainger to deliver your boxes fast.
Sorry about that. I got a video for you guys. So, yes, that happened, you guys. And that's what we're saying. We don't. This is getting scary. So, we got a lot of people that are not about to go down quietly. You already got lawyers locking arms with migrants who are in court. They're willing to take that hit and bail out and sue the administration later. And I love it. I love the fact that we're pushing back because Gavin Newsom did just present a lawsuit that stated ICE agents need to identify themselves when they're dealing with the public. And I guess, we are a land of laws, right? We're a land of laws. I think the judge did grant Gavin Newsom that authority to have ICE agents on his streets, but to be identified. And if we're going to sit back and try to pretend like some of these immigrants aren't following the law when they're listening or when they're not listening to ICE, then, well, hey, if ICE agents don't follow the law and take their fucking mask off, then, hey, it's a free-for-all. It's going to be a free-for-all. And I've seen some of these ICE agents. The fake ones, you could tell. Oh, they standing behind the big ones. I'm telling you, they little. If you fire on one, I'm not giving nobody advice. Nobody. But we have a Second Amendment right, specifically in our Constitution, the Second Amendment right, which I don't think you should use guns. You should just fire on one of these niggas and then see what happens. Our Second Amendment right is clearly states that we have the right to bear arms just in case our government acts out. That's what it's for. That's what it's for. So I think we're at a polarizing time, and Trump has been taking L's when it came to immigration, like Albrego Garcia and Mahmoud Khalil. They all have been released from federal detention, and it seemed like the judge is saying, Trump, you're not a dictator. You can try to present all this bullshit to the court and try to get these American citizens and others deported with no due process. You could try to snatch people off the streets and yada, 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 make it look good for the optics and put fear in all the Americans. But when it comes down to the court, it don't pass the muster test. Nope, sorry. All his shit had been thrown out of court. So yes, everybody's being released who he locked up, and ICE have to take their mask off, and Benjamin Netanyahu didn't agree to the ceasefire. So Trump is taking L's, y'all. Taking L's. And who else is taking L's? I think the Island Boy was taking L's. Now, I did not see this video, but supposedly Charleston White and the Island Boy had a boxing match, and I heard that somebody tapped out. Which one was it? I don't know. Who's gonna see? Let's see how this stupid ass fight went. Because everybody talking about it. So I'm gonna just bring it to y'all. Did you see this? DOD, let's go off. Let me see this. I don't know. We're gonna sit here and have some entertainment while we trade and listen to some breaking news. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event.
It's in the lightweight division.
Yo, this is crazy, bro.
It's
got aura.
And in the blue corner, wearing the blue trunks with the white
production showed it, yep.
Cody Head.
Sorry. We'll come back to this. Sorry. We have a important announcement. Hold on 1 second. Oh, you talk about oil? All right, we have Fed Chair Jerome Powell speaking live. Fed Chair Jerome Powell speaking live. Let's see what he has to say about the situation, because we are watching the market in real time and listening to Trump flip-flop in real time. So let's see what Powell has to say.
Yeah, brand new.
All right, pal.
But energy includes natural gas and gasoline, and it's a meaningful portion of the.
Yeah. So of course we have more natural gas than we have. So much natural gas, so that'll always be there for us.
So none of us can predict what's going to happen in the Middle East in an hour, much less in a week or a month or a year. But
all right, it's the Fed Chair Jerome Powell. For those who do not know, that's the Fed.
Price for a barrel of oil does the American household begin to feel inflationary effects? So we're at $75 a barrel roughly right now. At what price point does the American household begin to feel some inflationary effects?
Right.
I don't want to throw out a number.
No, you throw out a number, boy.
And
$85 a barrel.
It's too early to say that
No.
That's going to happen. And
You heard the question? Did y'all hear the question?
But I wouldn't want to throw out a
What
specific
price points
number.
a barrel?
If prices went up materially, people would feel that.
Start feeling it in their pocket. Right
Okay.
now, gas is at $77 a barrel.
Again, I think if I look
We
at
will
the
feel it
data
at
here,
80.
WTI per barrel about
and he doesn't
120.
wanna
It peaked
say
at about $120 in 2022. What do your models suggest would occur to inflation, and how would it influence the Fed's thinking? Should we be back at $120 a barrel?
Well, let's just say there's a big price spike in that range. So, we would look at that and we would ask ourselves, we look at the overall situation, we would ask ourselves, should we react to that? So, for example, during what we called the Arab Spring back in the early teens, oil prices went up a lot, and that went into the price, and there was a discussion, and I think the right answer was to look through that.
This or the fight?
Question you'd be asking to yourself, because by the time you react,
You seen the fight, the
price
Charleston
comes
White
back
fight?
down. I think the question today would be, is the situation different, and what would be the implications of those differences?
Gentleman's time has
Thank you.
expired. I thank the gentleman from Connecticut. Chair recognizes the gentleman from North Carolina. Mr. Moore, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Powell, I want to touch on international standard-setting bodies like the
right now.
Basel Committee on Banking Supervision.
Chris, how
Their
you
goal
feeling,
is to
Chris?
promote better harmonization for global capital
with us?
flows and regulatory standards. But the Biden administration's implementation of Basel III endgame demonstrated the pitfalls when the U.S. is a follower instead of a leader in the international arena. That's why
you
both
haven't
Democrats
seen it.
and
All right.
Republicans
I'm gonna play it
shot
after
down
this.
former Vice Chair Michael Barr's proposal.
I'm gonna play it
which
after
made
this.
capital less acceptable and put U.S.
Give it a
firms
couple
and
minutes.
businesses at a global disadvantage. Do you agree that the United States should only implement international standards in a way that is consistent with our own domestic legal and regulatory scheme?
I do.
I appreciate the Federal Reserve's announcement yesterday to end the use of reputational risk during banking examinations. This supervisory practice was used as a tool to pressure banks to refrain from offering financial services to politically disfavored individuals or industries.
Right.
What further steps
we
is the
bailing out the
Federal
banks?
Reserve taking to help usher in these changes, such as ending examination practices that informally encourage banks to close certain accounts without written justification?
QT.
So we're
Quantitative
We're
tightening.
developing, I should say Vice Chair Bowman is developing a range of policies that will help in that area, and I should let her speak to it. But as you know, we've eliminated reputation risk largely in a thoughtful way from those things. I think we became more aware of that problem over the course of last year, and like the other agencies, decided to move away from that. We're very conscious of the fact that we shouldn't be telling banks who they can lend to, that's a decision for them in the private sector.
Let me ask you this, how are you ensuring, though, that like the frontline examiners are aligned with this new direction and not continuing with any past practices?
I will say that is the ultimate question is will and I think they will, and I think
So for those
as a
who
former
don't know,
bank examiner,
this is Jerome Powell, the Fed chair. He is the head of the Federal Reserves. Anytime we have decisions on interest rates, he's the guy to make the decisions. He's the guy that checks the data to see how inflation is going in this country. He has a goal that inflation should be at a certain point, which is 2%. And during inflation, COVID, I'm not gonna say the Biden administration, but during COVID, inflation rose pretty high. I think. How high did it get? I think it got about 8%, something like that. Don't let me lie to you. But his goal has been to get it down back to 2%, right? Jerome Powell's job. That's his goal. And he has a lot of tools at his disposal that he can use to try to get the inflation down to 2%, like cutting interest rates and doing all this other stuff that other people think he should do. But it will exacerbate the inflation if he did some of the reckless things that people are asking of him. So what Jerome is doing is just watching quarter by quarter how the effects are, and if inflation is gradually coming down on its own with the tools that he has, or the things that he implemented, or do we have to do a drastic change and cut interest rate, which can lead to inflation, but it will relieve some pain of the dollar being so expensive. Because right now it's expensive to loan money. And a lot of these banks, they're not loaning out money because the interest rate is so high. And they want to. They want to loan out money and let people have fun. But think about it. What happens when you loan out money? Everybody named mama go crazy. They start shopping. They start spending. They raise inflation. That's all. So you got to like balance it out. A little balance.
Say things like that. I don't think that's something that's happening. Treasury markets are functioning well and normally, and they did function through a period of pretty substantial stress. And as you pointed out, Mr. Moore, that they're focusing well now.
Thank you. With that, I yield back. And actually, if Ms. Salazar is still here, I'll give her my remaining time. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The chair recognizes Ms. Williams of Georgia. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chairman Powell, for being here. It's been a while since I've had the opportunity to ask questions sitting at the bottom of the room, but I am happy to have this conversation today because the last time we talked, last July, I mentioned that combating economic inequality is a critical part of the Fed's dual mandate, and that is something that I am deeply, deeply interested in. Back then, we were talking about how we can get everyone in our economy to have the opportunity to contribute to their fullest potential, because that's how we get our economy firing on all cylinders and work to continue to close the racial wealth gap, which my home city of Atlanta
racial wealth gap, she said. What do y'all think about that racial wealth gap?
That seems like such a far cry from where we are today, almost a year later. Forget our economy firing on all cylinders. Now our economy and our nation seem to just be on fire.
Yeah.
We're looking at tariffs that are raising the prices of groceries, fuel, housing, and everyday goods. Chairman Powell, I get feedback every time I'm in a hearing about my nails because I like to get my nails done. And my nail tech told me about the increase in cost of so many of the different products that will be used just for me to get my manicure monthly, because tariffs are frightening so many of our small businesses, which we know are the backbone of our economy. And so it's hurting my community in Atlanta. But it doesn't seem like
that's the thing
our
about
president
the market,
and my
man.
Republican colleagues are really interested in making sure that our economy fires on all economies, on all cylinders, as long as
there's gonna be a lot of women out there, right? That go get their nails done, who have no idea what the Federal Reserve is. They don't even care. It's like, no. What they are going to do is they are going to be mad. And their nail technician is going to be the victim of their anger. And they're not even going to know that inflation was the cause to her nails being a lot more than they were previously. Oh, yeah, you're going to have some real life mad motherfucker. Nah, fuck that. You trying to ride me. That shit wasn't that much. I just came and got my shit done. You know, why you trying to ride me? And yes, the nail technician, they have to sit here in these meetings right here with Jerome and hope somebody asks the right question to see how it will affect their business. So yeah, a lot of people don't think this shit matters. I know these meetings seem boring. Me, as a market guy, every time Jerome comes on, I am sitting there tuned in because I want to know what's going on with my money.
Making it easier or harder for the Fed to do monetary policy.
Alan, I need help.
We're having no effect. We're doing our jobs.
You're doing your jobs. I appreciate you doing your job.
You said we're doing our job. Shut up. Leave me alone.
It is important to tune out the things that you hear on the media, because I hear it every day representing a district that has a lot of federal employees, a lot of people who work at your agency. I hear from people all the time. Thank you so much. And not only do I have thousands of federal employees in my district, but my district has one of the widest racial wealth gaps in the country. Much of that has to do with our worsening housing crisis. And unfortunately, as we've seen with the past 6 months, this administration has been focused on this big billionaire bailout bill, gutting HUD, and releasing a budget that does not help the supply of fair and affordable housing nationwide. Now we've heard the president talk about having the power to control interest rates. In your opinion, Chairman Powell, what would you expect the effects would be on the housing market if the president were to lower interest rates without addressing the housing supply crisis nationwide?
Sorry, if he were to what?
If he were to lower interest rates,
the president has talked about having the power to control interest
He said he has the power to
in
do your
opinion,
job.
What
Wake
would you
up.
expect the effects would be on the housing market if the president were to lower interest rates without addressing the housing supply crisis nationwide?
Honestly, it's not our job to speculate on things the president might do.
So what impact
Do
do
he
interest
have the
rates have
power
on
is the question.
on housing access?
What would you
Over
do?
the long run, they don't really affect housing supply.
All right,
Assuming that rates will go up and
SPY,
down.
601s.
Well, not on the supply, but on the housing market. The
For the
supply
26.
is separate that we need to address
I'm trying to
going
get 'em
into
for
this. If we're
99.
going to move interest rates up and down, that's not going to be the end all be all to getting people into housing. We must address the housing supply crisis. But what impact do interest rates have on the housing market in general?
Well, interest rates really affect housing demand. So with lower rates, you see more demand, and higher rates, maybe less demand.
Thank you, Chairman Powell. I am out of time, but I have lots of questions that continue to work to close the racial wealth gap in this country, specifically focused on my district in Atlanta, where it is so prevalent. Thank you so much.
Gentlewoman's time has expired. The gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Stutzman, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chairman Powell, great to see you. And again, as I've mentioned to you before, always appreciate your steady hand at the wheel and not, I guess, getting out of your lane necessarily, but obviously you have a huge impact on the economy and what's happening there at the Fed. I want to kind of follow up a little bit on housing, as I've been hearing a lot about the housing concerns in Northeast Indiana, and I know you're not you're used to being beat up on a lot by folks all around the country, but I want to speak specifically to one particular individual, Cardone Capital, Grant Cardone. He made some pretty strong remarks about your policy when it comes to the housing industry, and he said, that's why you have 500,000 more homes listed than buyers for those homes. When the rates come down, prices will also come down with it because you'll have more supply in the marketplace, and supply is what controls prices. He went on to say that interest rates do not control prices, and he explained that lower rates could stimulate activity in the market, and activity is what makes the economy work. And I agree with his comments, overall, but I believe, as you said earlier, the economy seems stable, and I would agree with that coming from an ag and manufacturing area. It's not booming yet, but I believe most people are optimistic that the good times are coming and that the structure is set and in place. But when it comes to housing, it seems like that's where a lot of Americans they're stuck. They've had low rates, they've got a good mortgage rate, but if they want to make a move, they have to go out of that 3% interest rate into 4.5%, 5% or higher 5% interest rate. Thoughts on addressing housing, because their prices are up for sure, but people there's no activity. The velocity is very slow. Would you like to comment on any of that?
Sure. So yeah, we see the same thing you do in the housing market. It's tough. There's not people are locked in. They can't afford to get out of their house because the cost of getting to a higher mortgage, higher price mortgage would be a lot. So the best thing we can do though is to get inflation sustainably down to 2% and have it stay there over a long period of time. And that is really what we can offer to them. And I think so. If you go back to the beginning of the pandemic, when we cut to zero and we did all those programs, we really saved the housing industry because they're the front line for interest rates. At a time like this, when rates are, I would say modestly restrictive, not even moderately, but modestly restrictive, they feel it, and their customers feel it. We understand that, but we only have one tool for the whole economy, not just for housing. So it's something we consider, but we have to consider the bigger picture. And I do think in the medium term,
that's true.
As rates come down, you'll see normalization in housing. Of course, there'll still be a national housing shortage. I don't know about your district, but
yeah, no, there's a shortage.
Yeah.
I mean, considering the macroeconomics of interest rates,
y'all.
I mean, how much consideration do you take housing into that decision as you address interest rates?
we're always briefed on it. We always talk about it. We always look at it. But at the end of the day, it's the big U.S. economy, the whole aggregate thing that matters. We also talk about the agricultural economy a lot as well, but ultimately, and manufacturing, it's got to be the whole, and not any one particular piece.
Yeah, I just would mention it is hard for American families to make that move, and they're stuck. And so I would just highly consider, ask you to consider that piece of it, because when Americans can't move and Americans can't upgrade or move laterally even, it really keeps the economy kind of holds the economy back a bit when Americans don't have that. But again, I want to say thank you, because you have a tough job, but I haven't heard from anyone in my district asking interest rates to go up.
That is probably the worst job to have.
I'll just pass that along from Indiana's 3rd District. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Colorado. Ms. Peterson is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and great to see you, Chair Powell. Thank you so much for being here today. I want to thank you for your long service to our country. I know that you've served under many Democrats, Republicans. You've always been nonpartisan and done your job to put our country first, and we appreciate your steadfast leadership. And if you are not reappointed, it will be very missed here.
Democrat. I mean, a Republican.
I have some concerns when I think about, I know you've touched on this a little bit through the questions today, but around the independence of the Federal Reserve. Your job, no matter what president you served under, Republican or Democrat, was to make sure that this was not a political position, while you brought news that some would not be happy about because it reflected what you had to do to address inflation. When I think about the conversations we've had going through the global pandemic and the economic fallout, and how we had to infuse money throughout our country to keep our services afloat, our businesses afloat. Yep. And while we suffered from inflation like the rest of the world, we had the quickest, strongest recovery. We were leading the globe.
That's true.
And so much of that was because of your leadership. And so when I think about what this position means, how important it is that there is independence, what are your biggest concerns about a potential successor that doesn't prioritize that and wants to do what is politically asked of them versus what they need to do for the country? And what are their long-term repercussions if you're not acting on addressing the economic uncertainties and trying to address inflation in this position?
So I wouldn't speculate on that, but I would say the credibility on the Fed on price stability is very, very important. People believe that we will bring inflation back down to 2% over time, and once if they really do believe it and it's true, then that'll have big effects on not just short-term rates but long-term rates. If that were to be called into question, then you'd see long-term rates go up. I mean, that credibility once lost is very expensive to regain, is what the historical record says. So I just think I think people should understand that credibility on inflation is hard won and something we need to constantly tend. And that's what we're doing with our current policy, is just being careful. With potential inflation risks. We haven't overreacted. In fact, we haven't reacted at all.
Testify.
But we're being a little bit careful about that set of questions as we decide what to do next.
And thank you for bringing that up, because we look at where we were, how far we had come. It almost seemed like
there's no new news going on. He's not cutting interest rate. This is not a
9 tablets of 100 milligram generic
FOMC meeting. This is just him talking, and the market will, it will move on, basically on what he say or don't say. So we'll see. It is significant, but let's go ahead and take a look at this watered down. Let's fight.
I love you.
I haven't seen it. I want to see it.
You got this shit. Let's fucking go. And we go out tonight, party, bottles on me.
Man, y'all gotta let me hang with Aunt, bro.
Hey, he cool as fuck.
Oh, me. I never met him. I always wanted to meet him, bro, so I can just laugh, bro.
Fucking go, Aunt. Come on.
He remind me of my uncle, man, all the way in South Georgia, dog.
Charles.
I can't believe this is finally
They
happening.
gonna touch gloves?
No.
If they do, Unc gonna fake him out and then punch him.
Why he didn't bring his twin with him? How come his twin ain't in his corner?
Yo!
Look at Unc, man. Uncle corn-fed ass dude,
versus
bro.
the Island Boy. Chat, here we fucking go.
Let's go.
Nobody's in a fucking chat. Final predictions.
Damn, I wish I could stand up for this motherfucker here, bro.
No, we can't. Come on, fuck it.
Can we?
Just like crouch. Yep.
Okay, come on, Unc. Come on, Unc. Come on, Unc.
Wait. What? Oh.
Come on, Unc. Come on, Unc. Come on, Unc. Come on, Unc.
I'm trying
They both trying to grab each other, but they got gloves on.
Get to him, Unc.
Come on, Unc.
Loosen up, Unc. Loosen up, Unc.
He's a 48-year-old man.
Right.
Uncle Dog, you playing.
Okay. Okay.
Unc doing UFC at that motherfucker.
Puts it going up.
Fuck this animosity.
Puts her printing.
Let's go, Unc. Let's go, Unc. Let's go, Unc. Let's go, Unc. Let's go, Unc.
I'm about to fall over.
No, he good.
Oh, he getting out the way. He getting out the way. Oh, he loaded
he
up.
tried to knock him.
Oh,
he tried to
loading
knock
up the
him.
haymakers.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to get a cheap one.
Oh, you saw that.
He tried to get a
He
cheap
was trying to throw a sneaker uppercut.
It's old school. Come on.
I like this old school.
Oh my goodness.
Stay in there, Unc. Stay in there, Unc.
Haircut.
Oh, I'm throwing him straight.
I like that
Oh.
haircut. I don't know. Hey, if you going bald on the top, that might
I'm
be the
having fun in
haircut
that.
for
He not
you.
moving his feet with him. He leaning over too much.
You see, Unc, he didn't even move. He just stood there.
Yeah. He's leaning.
Let's go, Unc. Let's go, Unc.
Uh-huh. Good jab, Unc. Yep.
Oh, straight
Hit him in
down
his neck. Uh-huh.
Straight down the pipe.
Come on, come
I'm
on.
having
come
fun
on.
in that.
Unc's nice with it. He's just a little old.
He's not moving.
He don't need to.
Unc like, hey, bro, just come to me, bro. I'm just going to rest. Look at him. I'm going to chill.
hot.
I'm
Yeah,
going
he
to
hot.
chill. I'm going
He
to
just
chill.
smoked.
Come on. Come with it. Ooh.
Oh, he ate that one. Oh.
You got, hey, 50 seconds, Unc.
Oh,
50
fuck.
seconds.
50 seconds, Unc.
50 seconds.
50 seconds,
You walking
Unc.
away. I ain't done coming down.
I can't believe this is really happening.
I can't believe this shit either, man. I gotta stand up too now, goddamn. This is a good motherfucker fight.
Unc, catch him one more time, Unc.
Oh.
He's good.
Oh.
Yes!
Oh.
Let him fly, Unc. Let him fly.
He said, let him fly, Unc. Okay. Unc ain't got too many to fly, bro.
All right, rip it.
20 seconds.
20 seconds, Unc. Let him fly. Win the round. Win the round.
Win the round, Unc.
10 seconds.
Let's go, Unc. Win the round. 10 seconds.
Win the round.
Oh, what? Oh.
Nope.
Trying to connect that left. He's trying to connect that left. All right, first round. First round.
Wow, that was a close one.
Who won round one?
Damn, all right.
I don't know. Chad, who won?
hilarious.
Chad, who won that one? I don't know who won that one.
I think 1-0 Unc.
Unc rocked him?
I
Unc
think
rocked
so.
him?
Yeah.
Chad, who won?
Oh,
Charles
you good?
won?
You good, DOD? Yeah, do your thing.
We're very noticeable.
Do your thing. We here. We ain't going nowhere. Do this every day for y'all. I'm trying to do it every day. Bring different stories from
This
politics,
so funny.
news,
I know.
Entertainment.
Hey.
Send me some stories that you want me to go over.
Oh,
You got some
boy.
stories that I might even cover.
It was a close
All right,
one.
round one goes to Charleston. Round one go to
With Galen's now approach to nursing.
This is hilarious. This is hilarious, y'all. And I think personally, if you ask me personally, I think this is what our leaders should do. I don't think they should send our kids overseas with ARs and fatigues and shit, and they end up losing their lives. No, I think our leader, like, if Trump got a problem with Putin, if Putin got a problem with Macron, if Macron got a problem with Keir Starmer, I think they all should just put some gloves on. And that way nobody can lose their life.
So does one eye really like a disadvantage?
Yeah, for sure. He can't see like some punches, like wide punches. So I don't know. He's not that smart, but he should be throwing a lot of.
Yeah, throwing the opposite. He knocked him. You knocked him off.
No, he didn't knock him. No, he didn't knock him. He pushed him.
He knocked him. He swung him.
Hold on. That's allowed. He pushed him down with his fist.
Oh, okay.
That's hilarious. Oh, sorry. That's my fault. Uh-oh. Left.
Don't knee him. He about to knee him. Don't knee him.
Oh, do not get DQ'd. Hold him for about 15 seconds.
Like he was wearing it.
Right, coming down. Let's go.
Unk, you winning. Let's go.
Hey, Unk, you winning, bro. On time, boy.
He tired.
On time, boy. Let's go, Unk. Come on.
He need to connect that left. That's what he did. That's what he tried to do. He tried hard to connect that left. This is funny. Who set this up? And why I didn't see no promos on it?
Take your time, Unk. Nothing. I'm worried that his eye will pop out. Is that possible?
It could. I don't know what type of eye he got in there.
Oh, he got a prosthetic?
Charleston
got a prosthetic?
Tired, bro. Is this where age comes in?
Yeah, age comes in.
I hate that.
Yeah.
See, I don't see why the island boy ain't taking advantage of that.
What, like his eye or the age?
Both. Hey, I ain't gonna lie, Unk's strong.
Yeah, I'm being tired. Yeah.
He tired.
He purposely threw it out.
Oh, yeah.
You okay, Unk?
Let me see.
It's okay. 1 minute.
At this point, I take my eyeball out and throw it at him.
Yeah, let me see. I never knew that.
You got this, Unk.
Does Charleston White have a prosthetic eye?
I know he is, and he's 48 years old. Uh-oh. I don't like that.
Oh, yeah. Charleston White has one eye due to childhood injury. He was injured. He wears the glass eye.
Can't see. He can't see out his right. Oh!
Well, we missed. My bad. I'll bring it back for y'all. We missed something. So, yeah, he lost his eye when he was a kid. I never knew that.
Uh-oh. I don't like that.
He don't have a prosthetic. He has a glass eye.
Oh, he off balance. Off balance.
Can't see. He can't see out his right. Oh!
Come on. 30 seconds.
Come on.
Let's go up.
What?
He's giving up.
He quit.
He's giving up.
He's giving up.
Ain't no timeout.
He's giving up.
It's over.
Ain't no timeout.
Ain't no timeout. Ah, come on, y'all. Didn't
Ain't no
y'all
fucking
get
timeout.
Ain't no timeout in
Ain't no
boxing.
timeout. Ain't no timeout.
Ain't no timeout in boxing.
Yeah, I didn't know he had.
He quit.
He quit.
Oh, he quit. Yep, he quit. Let that tired ass nigga stay right there. They trying to pick his old ass up.
Oh, with the win.
Oh, fuck. Well, that happened. That happened, y'all. I did not know that Charleston White was missing an eye. That's crazy, you know? That is one common injury. I wonder what it is, because it's normally, I wouldn't say normally, but a lot of people is missing their left eye. No pun intended. But my eye is gone, and then it's the left eye. And when I did some research, there was a lot of people with their left eye missing. Hold on, we're going to get back to the news. Let's see. But yeah, funny fight. It was funny. Let's see what Tulsi Gabbard have to say, because she's talking right now. Hold up. Real quick. So yeah, it was funny. The headlines or the shit that I seen, people kept saying that Charleston made him tap out, made him quit. So, yeah, that was true. The fight was funny. I don't like the fact that y'all let Charleston get a break and you didn't let Dude get a break. But I get it. He's younger. He shouldn't need a break. Granted. But instead of taking his break that y'all should have gave him, he said, fuck it. I quit. But, yes, let's see what Tulsi Gabbard has to say.
Chair, members of the committee, thanks for the opportunity
we got
for us to be here to present you the intelligence community's 2025 annual threat assessment. I'm joined here this morning by my colleagues from the CIA, DIA, FBI, and NSA. Our testimony offers the collective assessment of the 18 U.S. intelligence elements making up the U.S. Intel community and draws on intelligence collection and information available to the IC from open source and private sector and the expertise of our analysts. This report evaluates what the IC assesses most threatens our people and our nation's ability to live in a peaceful, free, secure, and prosperous society.
Another $2.
As you know, we face an increasingly complex threat environment that is threatening us here at home and our interests abroad. I'll begin by focusing on what most immediately and directly threatens the United States and the well-being of the American people. Non-state criminal groups and terrorists putting American lives and livelihood at risk.
Non-state criminal groups, remember that.
Then I'll focus on the key nation states who have the capability to threaten the interests of the United States. In this complex environment, non-state and state actors are able to exploit or take advantage of the effects of each other's activities.
Non-state
Conventional and
actors.
asymmetrical capabilities, even the traditionally weakest of actors are able to acquire from available advanced technologies, creates an even more complex and serious threat landscape. First, I'll highlight the threats presented by several non-state actors. Cartels, gangs, and other transnational criminal organizations in our part of the world are engaging in a wide array of illicit activity, from narcotics trafficking to money laundering to smuggling of illegal immigrants and human trafficking, which endanger the health, welfare, and safety of everyday Americans. Based on the latest reporting available for a year-long period ending October 2024, cartels were largely responsible for the deaths of more than 54,000 U.S. citizens from synthetic opioids. Mexico-based transnational criminal organizations, or TCOs, are the main suppliers of illicit fentanyl to the U.S. market and are adapting to enforcement and regulatory pressures by using multiple sources and methods to procure precursor chemicals and equipment, primarily from China and India, many of which are dual-use chemicals used in legitimate industries. Independent fentanyl producers are also increasingly fragmenting the drug trade in Mexico. The availability of precursor chemicals and ease of making illicit fentanyl have enabled independent actors to increase illicit fentanyl production and smuggling operations in Mexico. Cartels are profiting from human trafficking and have likely facilitated more than 2 million illegal immigrants encountered by law enforcement at the U.S. southwest border in 2024 alone, straining our vital resources and putting the American people at risk. Criminal groups drive much of the unrest and lawlessness in the Western Hemisphere. They also engage in extortion, weapons and human smuggling, and other illicit and dangerous revenue-seeking operations, including kidnappings for ransom.
Them equating regular immigrants with criminal immigrants. They want to pretend like all immigrants are criminal. Hold on. Wait. I think we got an update.
Any consequences for Israel or Iran for breaking?
They didn't do anything. No, they didn't do anything. They would have if they. I put out a statement on truth, and they didn't do anything.
Sir, how are you confident that this might not happen again? Say in a couple weeks that.
Tired of it. I think they don't want it to happen again. And Iran's not going to have a nuclear weapon, by the way. I think it's the last thing on their mind right now.
Mr. President, did Iran make any commitments yesterday about uranium enrichment?
About what?
About uranium enrichment.
They're not going to have enrichment, and they're not going to have a nuclear weapon, and they know that. They're going to get on to being a great trading nation. You know, they're very good traders. And they're going to be a great trading nation, and they have a lot of oil. They're going to do well. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
What? What?
So did they promise?
The last thing on Iran's mind right now is nuclear weapons.
Can you clarify what you meant when you mentioned regime change in your Truth Social post the other night?
Which?
Regime change. Do you want to see regime change in Iran?
No. If there was, there was. But no, I don't want it. I'd like to see everything calm down as quickly as possible. Regime change takes chaos. And ideally, we don't want to see so much chaos. So we'll see how it does. You know, the Iranians are very good traders, very good business people. And they got a lot of oil. They should be fine. They should be able to rebuild and do a good job. Crazy. They're never going to have nuclear, but other than that, they should do a great job, which is exactly where I've been saying for years. You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Yeah, but we're going to be with, where's Marco? I think Marco's here someplace. You know, our great Secretary of State. But we cannot let them have a nuclear weapon. They won't have a nuclear weapon. And I will tell you, the last thing on their minds is nuclear weapons.
Say that again?
They don't even want to think about nuclear. And our B-2 pilots made this all possible. They had a magnificent hit in the dark of night with no moon, no light, no nothing. They hit the target perfectly, wiped it out. And the press is very disrespectful. I saw CNN fake news going, well, maybe it wasn't a perfect hit, it was perfect. They said maybe it did destroy it. We agree, it did destroy it, but maybe it could have destroyed it more. No, it couldn't have destroyed it more. Everyone hit. And it's very disrespectful to those great geniuses and patriots that flew those planes through tremendous danger. So CNN and MSDNC are a disgrace. And so are the others. I mean, they're pretty much all a disgrace. But it's an amazing period of time. Now we're going to NATO, and we'll get a new set of problems. We'll solve a new set of problems.
Do you think you'll meet with Zelensky when you're there?
Yeah, probably. I'll see him. Yeah.
What would you say to him?
Say, how you doing? He's in a tough situation. Should have never been there.
Sir, you said a couple days ago that you didn't think the U.S. should have to agree to the 5% increase in GDP on defense.
No.
Do you want to
I was the one that said that's what they should be paying, as you know. No, I should do something. And they're having a problem with Spain. There's always a problem with Spain. Spain's not agreeing, which is very unfair to the rest of them, frankly.
So the U.S. won't be increasing our GDP to 5%.
We should pay what everyone else, they're in Europe, we're not. A lot of that money goes to rebuilding their bridges, their roads, so it can take heavy equipment. And, we don't have any roads in Europe. We don't have any bridges in Europe. So, no, it wouldn't be quite the same thing for us. But we're with them.
Are you still committed to Article 5 of NATO?
It depends on your definition. There's numerous definitions of Article 5. You know that, right? But I'm committed to being their friends. I've become friends with many of those leaders, and I'm committed to helping them.
What do you want the role of NATO to be going forward once these other countries are spending more?
By having a unified system, I think we're going to have stronger peace, better peace, and I think we have that. When I went to NATO, they were broke. When I first started this whole thing, it seems like a long time ago, 9 years, right? But they were broke. I knew it immediately. I said, you guys are broke. They weren't paying their dues. 7 of the 28 countries, at the time it was 28, were paying their dues, but they weren't paying very much. NATO was broke. And I said, you're going to have to pay. And we did a whole thing, and now they're paying a lot. Then I said, you're going to have to lift it to 4% or 5%. And 5% is better. And I guess they're voting on that today, but they're going to be lifting it to 5%. That's good. It gives them much more power.
Mr. President, if there's language in the final summit declaration about aggression by Russia, would you be okay with that kind of language?
Well, I'll have to take a look at it. But, I'd like to see a deal with Russia. As you know, Vladimir called me up. He said, can I help you with Iran? I said, no, I don't need help with Iran. I need help with you. And I hope we're going to be getting a deal done with Russia. It's a shame. 6,000 soldiers died last week. More, 6,500 soldiers died last week. Russia, Ukraine, a war that never would have happened if I was president. So enjoy your flight.
Let me ask you one more follow-up. In your comments just now about Article 5, that will probably make some people in Europe concerned. Can you clarify what you mean? Are you still committed to mutual defense?
I'm committed to saving lives. I'm committed to life and safety. And I'm going to give you an exact definition when I get there. I just don't want to do it on the back of an airplane.
And one other question on energy. What's your take on the oil price situation right now, and are you concerned?
I love it. It dropped almost $10 yesterday. I put out a statement, get it down, because a lot of people aren't able to do things when the energy goes down. We're going to have a lot less conflict. So it came down, and our energy department's doing a great job. We're drilling like we've never drilled before. We're keeping it down. We're going to keep it down until all these wars are settled. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you.
Iranian sleeper cells in the United States.
Biden led a lot of super cells, and Biden was an incompetent president, had no idea what he was doing. He hardly ever signed a document. Other people signed documents for him with the auto pen. It was gross incompetence. And among everything else, he let a lot of supercells in, many from Iran. But hopefully we'll take care of them. What Biden did to this country should never be forgotten.
Sir, do you think you'll get the Nobel Peace Prize?
Just stopped who? All right, let's go back to Powell, y'all.
This is democracy.
Let's go back
Any
to Powell.
consequences for Israel or Iran for breaking?
Do anything, no?
Quick. So the market is moving. The market
In other
is
news, Nevada residents are going to be happy to hear this.
And Trump just had a weird ass out of nowhere meeting. You guys, this is what I got from the meeting. I'm gonna tell you what I got from the meeting.
But that being said,
Trump said, this is what Trump said right here, right now, with all these people in front of him. It looked like he's on the plane. I don't know. Iran has a lot of oil. Iran are good traders. Regime change, no. Regime change, bloody. We don't want war. First of all, my first question would be, does Benjamin Netanyahu know that? My second question would be, what deal did you make? Because oil is tanking. And why does our president sound like he has a mental issue or going through some kind of cognitive decline? He kept repeating the same thing over and over, and it wasn't making sense. It didn't really pertain to the war or what we did. We still don't have an investigation on if those bombs even worked, destroyed the facility. And like a fucking 5-year-old, he's giving us information in layman's terms. They will not pursue nuclear bomb. They're not going to pursue nuclear bomb. They're not doing it. I don't know, man. Hold on, let's see what this is. Is this more in depth? Because I think we missed most of it. He had a call with Benjamin. Trump had a phone call with him. Let me see.
The president's very stern call with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just a little while ago.
Because he was,
the ceasefire was
he was bigging up Iran in this meeting, wasn't he? To me, it looked like he was bigging them up. Like, yeah, they're good people. They're smart people. They have a lot of oil. They know how to trade. They're great traders. That's a big ass difference from we need a regime change. Why not regime change? And now he had a stern conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu.
Hanging in the balance. CNN political and global affairs analyst Barak Ravid is joining us right now. He's also a global affairs correspondent for Axios.
I don't know.
Barak, thanks so much for joining us. I want to read what the president posted on his Truth Social site earlier this morning after cursing out both Israel and Iran.
After
He wrote
cursing
this,
both
and I'm
of them
quoting
out.
Trump. Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Barak, what did you learn about that conversation between Trump and Netanyahu that led to that post?
Hi, Wolf. According to Israeli and U.S. official, this call was pretty difficult. One U.S. official told me Trump was very direct and firm with what he told Netanyahu. He basically told Netanyahu abort mission. And Netanyahu, according to Israeli officials, told the president, look, I can't abort mission. The Iranians violated the ceasefire. They fired the missile. I have to do something. So at the end, Netanyahu told Trump that he's going to scale back this attack, and from a list of a dozen targets, many of them in the center of Tehran, at the end, the IDF struck one target, one radar outside of Tehran, which I think it's a pretty unprecedented thing that, you know, the President of the United States goes out in public calling on Israel to abort mission, and Israel doesn't. I think it's quite extraordinary. And if we, you know, if there's one thing that showed us how angry Donald Trump was, is that he used this morning on camera the F word in the context of the Israel-Iran war. And we remember, when is the last time Donald Trump used the F word about Benjamin Netanyahu?
Right.
So I think it shows how angry and frustrated he was.
Do we know what came first, that Iranian strike on that residential apartment building in Beersheba that killed 4 Israelis, or the Israeli strikes that took place in Tehran?
So as far as I understand, according to the sequence of things, the Israeli strikes in Tehran happened before, and the Iranian missile strikes happened afterwards. But according to the timeline that President Trump himself laid out, both were still before the ceasefire came into effect. I think what created the problem was that the Iranians fired the missile one time 6 minutes into the ceasefire. Let's say, you know, that's borderline. But the second time they fired a missile 3 hours into the ceasefire, and while the missile was intercepted, didn't hit anything, it was still, you know, something that Israel saw as a violation and threatened to strike in retaliation in the center of Tehran.
In a statement after the phone call with the president, Prime Minister Netanyahu's office said this, and I'm quoting, "In the conversation, President Trump expressed his great appreciation for Israel, which achieved all of its objectives for the war, as well as his confidence in the stability of the ceasefire." End quote. What objectives is Israel claiming it achieved during the course of the last 12 days?
What did they achieve?
So I think there's no doubt that Israel achieved almost completely its 2 main objectives, which were, number one, destroying the Iranian nuclear program. I think the program, even if it's not 100% destroyed,
so why would you say
it
destroyed?
has been severely damaged, and it would take the Iranians a long time to bring this program back to a place where they can produce, they can even try to produce a nuclear weapon. The other thing is the Iranian ballistic missile program. While the Israelis set out an ambitious goal of, you know, removing this threat completely, they did not. But they, I think, degraded Iranian ballistic missile capabilities significantly. At least 50%, maybe even 60% of Iran's launchers were destroyed. A lot of Iran's ballistic missile production lines have been destroyed, and Iran is in a different place on its ballistic missile capability today.
Let me just get a final quick answer from you, Barak. You agree with me that President Trump seemed more anti-Israel than he was anti-Iranian in his public remarks this morning?
I don't know if he was anti-Israel, but he was definitely he was definitely putting the onus on the Israeli side. There is no doubt about it.
Hi, I'm Burke, a small business insurance expert with Byberk.
What's a Byberk?
They are lying. They are lying. Talking about Iran is taking serious hits, and we know that they don't even have no more no infrastructure. It was a success, a total success. It was a total success. How stupid do they think we are? How stupid do they think we are? Because I don't know, man. I ain't buying it. Did y'all buy that? I ain't buying it, bro. Hold on real quick for you. Hold on real quick. Hold on. I feel insulted, personally. What's this?
Tehran. And Iran fired
Right now about the president's very stern call with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said this, and I'm quoting,
were killed. Or CNN's Jeff Zeleny is in Washington,
There we
D.C.
go. I want to know.
Will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Israel says it refrained from additional strikes after that conversation. Earlier, it says it struck a radar site north of Tehran. And Iran fired a missile into the residential building in the Israeli town of Beersheva before the ceasefire took effect. Israel says at least 4 people were killed. CNN's Jeff Zeleny is in Washington, D.C. With us this hour for the reaction. And Jeremy, pretty extraordinary to see the President of the United States using that kind of language against an ally in the form of Israel, one of its closest allies. But clearly it has had an effect. The President now on the train to the NATO summit. What do we expect there on arrival?
Look, President Trump is flying to the NATO summit in the Netherlands. He'll be there on the ground for about 24 hours, but he is coming armed with this ceasefire deal, which, as you said, Christina, is still holding at the moment, but it is fragile. There's no doubt about that. But the anger that we saw from the American president as he left Washington is part of diplomacy as well, clearly sending a message to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that the United States and the White House are not pleased by this. So it may have seemed a bit performative, but the anger was clearly real. There is no question about that. But we are told that the president and the prime minister had a phone call aboard Air Force One as the president was leaving Washington, and he got a guarantee from Netanyahu to basically fire no more. So the ceasefire seems to be holding. The question is going forward, A, how long will it last? And there are still questions about the actual state of the Iran nuclear program. But there is no doubt that Iran was looking for an exit ramp, an off-ramp to all of this. That was clear yesterday, throughout the day, really a series of extraordinary events that will potentially be looked back at history as quite a remarkable moment, with the Americans reaching out to the Qataris to negotiate a bit of diplomacy with the Iranians, even as the Americans were talking to the Israelis, even as the strikes were being fired on the Al Udeid Air Force Base in just outside of Doha. So all of that taken together, I'm told, was part of one piece of this. But the United States clearly wants to broker this ceasefire. We will see what happens at the NATO summit. But already we were being told the president is being congratulated for his role in this. And of course, that is part of all of this as well. But he clearly wants to move on, turn the page, and to suggest that this is over. But history would show that this conflict has been burning, of course, for centuries. So it's unlikely that forever a ceasefire is at hand. But for the moment, at least, a fragile one appears to be. Christina?
Yeah, very dependent on whether this ceasefire holds as to whether...
Man, this ceasefire ain't holding, man. It didn't hold the fucking 12 hours. That's what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be 12 hours. And Trump just told us, he came out pissed off, cursing. Man, as soon as I said ceasefire, Benjamin's ass, Benjamin Netanyahu's ass, went and dropped bombs. So yeah, Trump is pissed. Trump is pissed, and this is fucking hilarious. How y'all feeling? If you just now tuning in, please like, share, subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm trying to bring y'all the latest of this fucking freak show, y'all. This is... I don't know. I'm entertained, though. I'm not gonna lie. This is fucking entertaining. Hold on. So I gotta fix my stream. Something's going on with my stream, apparently. Let's see. Yeah, this is fucking hilarious, man. I don't know what to make of it. But I am here for all of the... They lying. My shit is... Ain't nothing wrong with my shit. They lying. It is the same. I am here for all the updates. Yes? Yes.
Her faith and her doctors. No one else. No one else.
What happened? What are we missing? Hakeem
And so,
Jeffries. What happened?
It's my honor and privilege to stand here with these champions for reproductive freedom, with our commitment as House Democrats to make clear to the American people that we are not going to step back ever from the effort to strip away reproductive health care freedom from women. We're going to fight back. On behalf of the women of this country, fight back today and tomorrow, this week, next week, this year, next year, until we restore a woman's freedom to make her own reproductive health care decisions all across the land in every single corner of this great country. It's now my honor to yield to one of those champions, my good friend, my classmate, the distinguished whip of the House Democratic Caucus, and a distinguished gentlelady from the great state of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Good catch.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Like that remix? Catherine Clark.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we are so proud to stand with you, Leader Jeffries. And to my colleagues here, we represent the entire House Democratic Caucus in commemorating what is a very painful day for women and girls in our country. Today is a reminder of how much suffering has been inflicted by Donald Trump and his Supreme Court. 3 years ago today, Trump's right-wing Supreme Court eradicated half a century of progress. His judges declared that women's health, our well-being, even our survival, all of it is secondary. What comes first is an ideology of control, absolute control over if, when, and how to start a family. And as we look forward to celebrating the 4th of July and our fundamental freedoms as Americans, it is a painful contrast that young women today in our country have fewer rights than their grandmothers did. That doctors are being threatened with jail time for providing needed care.
That was stressful.
Patients are being denied life-saving care. 35% of the counties in our country now
so let's see what we got going.
are maternity care deserts. And in states that have broad abortion bans,
a 3-year anniversary of Dobbs' decision.
In Georgia, for example, half of all counties don't have a single obstetrician. And now the GOP is going even further. Despite all the promises on the campaign trail we heard last year.
They're allowing Trump to deport. They're allowing Trump to deport. That's why they was going crazy right now, trying to get as many people as they can in these detention centers, so now they can just ship them
Administration
out.
can deport migrants to third countries with limited notice and due process for now. Justice Sonia Sotomayor issued a sharp dissent, writing in part the court's majority was, quote, rewarding lawlessness. Let's bring in immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez. Good to see you, my friend.
Good morning.
All right, so what are the implications of this ruling?
Well, this ruling by the Supreme Court pauses and suspends a lower court order that had prevented the Trump administration from deporting migrants to third countries, meaning nations that are not their own, without limited and significant due process. The judge in that case in Massachusetts had required the administration to, one, tell detainees where they were going, which third country they were going to be deported to, and also to give them a meaningful opportunity to contest their deportation by saying that they are scared of going to that country and that they want to be interviewed by a U.S. asylum officer. And that order had prevented the deportation of 8 men with criminal records to South Sudan who were from countries like Vietnam and Myanmar and Mexico even. They're currently in a U.S. military base in Djibouti, Vlad. So this could pave the way for the administration to continue those deportations to third countries, and again, to do so with limited due process and notice.
So explain
They're
to the audience.
sending Mexicans to Sudan? Yo, Trump. What? They are sending Mexican migrants who have never been to Sudan. They're sending them to Africa? This can't be. Y'all lying. They lying.
It's what this deal with El Salvador entails, which allows the United States to deport alleged criminals to that country.
Well, back in March, the U.S. deported more than 200 alleged Venezuelan gang members to El Salvador, and that country in Central America imprisoned them at that notorious mega prison known as Secot, which is infamous in that country, and they have been held there incommunicado effectively since then, with no access to counsel or to calls with relatives or friends. We have not received any proof of life officially for these men. And the administration has argued that they are all terrorists, criminals, and gang members. But a 60 Minutes report actually found that we could not find 75% of them to have criminal records. And so that is really important to note. But this order by the Supreme Court could...
75% of the detainees had no criminal record. And they may be on their way to a country that they've never been to. Tell me again, why the fuck are we trying to do a regime change in a whole nother country when we're doing shit like this? Please, explain to me. We all know it's illegal. We get it. We all know. But this is when you have control of all three branches of government. This is what drunk on power looks like. Seriously.
Potentially allow the administration to carry out more third country deportations to countries like El Salvador.
There's something else you're following with as it relates to the Department of Homeland Security and what Kristi Noem is saying about how the federal government is going to operate mass detention centers.
Yes, so just to level set, ICE has been ramping up operations to arrest undocumented immigrants across the country. Right now, ICE is averaging about 1,200 daily arrests. That is up from about 660 during the first 100 days of the second Trump administration. So there has been a significant increase in arrests, but the agency is running out of space to detain people while they await deportation. And now states like Florida are offering them detention facilities, including one in the Everglades that state officials are dubbing Alligator Alcatraz, because the state attorney general is saying that the only way to escape is to fight snakes and alligators in those treacherous lands.
Wow, disturbing. All right, Camilo Montoya Galvez, thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate you as always.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy right there. And we already know that they're rounding up citizens too. And these people ain't identifying themselves. And next thing you know, they're trying to hurry up and as fast as they can ship them to another country. Bruh, what the fuck? Bruh, what's going on? What is going on in America? Something has to be going on in the great land of America, because this ain't us. Is this us? Have we been doing this kind of shit? And the way we talk about Iran, right? The way we talk about Iran, how we need to do a regime change. I seen people saying, "Oh, they do this to their people. They do that to their people," right? A lot of people were saying shit like, if you oppose the government of Iran, you have your head chopped off, like some Disney movie, right? Literally. And then they say there's no due process, there's no court, there's no democracy, right? Mind you, we just got reports yesterday of Israel, the IDF, dropping bombs and blowing off the doors of a prison. They blew the doors off of a fucking prison in Iran. And that prison holds, I guess, people of a opposite view. Mind you, they say that some of these people are from other countries. Terror cells. Maybe those, so they said it. They conceded that some are from France, some are from other places, and they were locked up, arrested for basically trying to overthrow the government. But Israel had the nerve to try to free those people just to cause an uprising in that country. But we can sit here and say all day, every day, hey, watch out for the terror cells out here. Biden had let in 700 of them during the illegal migration in his presidency. But what's really going on is America and Israel were trying to activate terror cells in Iran. And they tried to inject that leader. Y'all seen the video that I had showed y'all yesterday. They trying to inject that leader off of some fucking false pretenses that Iran is trying to be saved. They want to be rescued by the Ayatollah. And now Trump comes out today and say, hey, these people are cool. They're actually good traders. Oh my God. I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's keep watching the fuckery. Let's keep watching the fuckery, man. Yes. Hold on real quick. If you're just now tuning in, please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to this video and hit the notification bell. That way you will be notified every time I go live. Hold on. I think we've seen this one already. This is live. They're just recapping what they heard Trump said. And they're going to go over it. Because even the media, we're all out of the loop. Thrown for a loop. We got to wait for Trump's tweet. We got to wait for
dark
Trump to
with
tweet.
no
That way we'll
moon,
know.
and they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say,
yeah, and those admissions there, that place is gone, destroyed, gone. Y'all remember that? That was what, the first minute of us striking. Forto gone. That's how he said it in a few letters. Forto gone. Next thing you know, everybody, all the specialists and experts, they like, oh, we still got to get on the ground just to see the extent of the damage. But Forto gone. Yes, this is, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm here for the fuckery. This is crazy as hell. Hold on, let's see. Let's see what this is. As the market continues to fluctuate, we have about 26 more minutes until lunch is over. 26 more minutes until lunch is over.
Said, for instance, he's try to, and many of the other European leaders are going to try to persuade President Trump to keep up the support of Ukraine. That's one thing. And on the other, to encourage President Trump to leverage what he did to help Israel in its setback of Iran's nuclear program, to get Israel to get to a negotiating, situation again over the war in Gaza, and to get a ceasefire there, to end the horrors that are happening in Gaza, to get the hostages back, and to eventually lead to the only thing that will end the Middle East, as he puts it, the Middle East crisis, and that is an eventual path to statehood for the Palestinians. So that's what they're hoping Trump will take away from this action that he took in Iran.
The president lashed out at Iran and Israel, really especially Israel, accusing both sides of threatening the ceasefire that he helped to broker just hours after it went into effect. He's on his way right now to a NATO summit in the Netherlands. Joining us now is Congressman Scott Perry, a Republican from Pennsylvania, a member of the Foreign Affairs and Intelligence Committees. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us. The president expressed his frustration with both Iran and Israel. He was more livid with Israel than I have heard him before. What is your view of the Israeli strikes? Hang on. What is your view of the actions that Israel took after the ceasefire was announced and then heading into the morning?
When to do it.
I think, unfortunately, it was probably to be expected. They knew what the moment of the ceasefire, at least as negotiated, would commence, but they also wanted to make sure that they maximized the amount of time that they had to ensure that the nuclear capabilities, the warfighting, and the terrorist activities of Iran were minimized, and they took that opportunity. And unfortunately, like I said, I think that was likely to be expected. We've seen that in other ceasefire situations. And let's face it, while the deal was brokered, the ceasefire is generally more advantageous to Iran than it is to Israel. And it's always the one that is losing the fight that requests the ceasefire, not the one that is winning the fight. So it is an unfortunate kind of turn of events, but it should not be unexpected.
The ceasefire is more advantageous to Iran, you say. You're on the Intel Committee, so you see a lot of things that we don't. But over the last 12 days, what was accomplished in terms of trying to degrade Iran and their nuclear capabilities?
Well, that is the point of this whole thing, that America in particular does not have an argument with the people of Iran. We wish and we hope that they can realize their freedom, and we stand in solidarity with them in that. But we do take issue with the world's greatest terrorist state having that nuclear capability and being able to deliver that anywhere on the globe, particularly to Israel and the United States of America or interest abroad. And what America had carried out ensured that that capability no longer exists in any time where there would be a crisis of time. In other words, where you would have to make a decision under duress because they were able to do it without notice. That capability no longer exists.
Let me ask two follow-ups on that. What's the status of the enriched uranium inside Iran right now?
Well, I think that's a moving target. Obviously, Iran, like North Korea, is one of the most restrictive countries on the planet for any kind of eyes on from outside of Iran. So I doubt that there is, as much as Israeli intelligence is very productive, they have eyes on in Fordo itself. So it's very difficult to completely assess what the status of that is. I think we're going to learn that over the next weeks and months. But I think the point is their capability has been significantly degraded. However, there is still a marginal threat because the real thing is that Iran cannot have a nuclear capability at all. They're a terrorist nation and they can't have that capability. So how far do you let them get? And I would suggest that they can have no nuclear capability that's not for civilian purposes, and none of this has ever been for civilian purposes.
And I think it's going to be successful. We'll see. I'll let you know.
Are you going to let's go back to what I was telling y'all the other day. Let's check on the market. Now, we had meetings today with Jerome Powell, the Fed chair. We had Trump talking about the Middle East and what's going on over there. Trump said something about a deal, or that the Iranians are great deal makers and traders. And last night, when all this market turmoil was happening, I brought up ExxonMobil and a couple other stocks that may be affected by the news. So let's see. And the dollar. Hold on, I want to see where the dollar's at. Because Trump looks stressed out. And it looked like it's for a reason. What is this? What do we have here? Look at that, y'all. Look at that. Wow. Do y'all remember this last night? Do y'all remember that last night? That doom candle? All right, well, the dollar's picking back up. But it's still, check it out, it's still trending down. So just because we get this nice little reversion pop back up, she's still on the way down, you guys. She's still on the way down. So be careful. Be careful. Keep an eye on your finances. Contact your your financial advisor, your CPA, and ask them if there's a. Tell them to keep it 100 with you. Tell them to keep it 100 with you. Let's check the bond market. You ask them. Is my money okay? Is my USD okay? Please tell me, because there's too much uncertainty for people to not understand what's going on. Oh, the bond market is pumping. Ooh, shit. GameStop with pop. All right, NVIDIA. Hold on real quick. I got to just check some stuff, y'all. Don't mind me. Oops. I'm half blind. All right, let me check this real quick. We are... Oh, come on, man. See how they be doing me? See how they do me? I'm going to check this real quick. NVDA. All right. NVIDIA. Let's go. NVIDIA is pumping. All right, so I don't know what's going on, but all I do know is oil's going down. Crypto's going up. Chips is going up. And I guess you could say the bond market is performing. Nah, I wouldn't call it going up. But this is not the time to ignore the market. Not at all. Because there's opportunities to make money both ways, up, down. You can take profit on some things that you don't know that may be coming down drastically and would never see the light of day for the next 5-6 years. So please keep an eye on your finances at this very moment in time. Look at him. Look how sloppy.
You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch this garbage. It's all garbage.
Let's see. Let's see what we got over here. What is the latest from the X? The Twitter. Oh, spy. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is crazy. I really think we're being trolled. To be honest with you, I think we're being trolled. I don't appreciate it either. I don't like it. IWN with a pop. I don't like it at all. Alright. So, this is all the news that we know about. Trump coming out, cussing Israel out. Let's see what some of his supporters have to say, because they're the ones that's lost. They're the ones that's lost. They don't know how to defend this shit. They're trying to say, oh, yeah, no. We need to do regime change. Most of Trump supporters are anti-Semitic. Most of them. They don't fuck with Israel. Most of Trump supporters said they fuck with him. They fuck with Trump because he was an anti-war president. He don't like forever wars. So when this happened, there was a big ass divide in the MAGA movement. Well, the pro-war MAGAs, they were vindicated. It's crazy. It was like, aha. And they started talking shit about the other MAGAs. Mind you, they still MAGAs. They talking shit about them. Oh, you ain't no real MAGA. You don't know how Trump is and who Trump really is. We need to go to war. We need to do a regime change. We need to do this. You don't understand what it means for Iran to have a nuclear bomb. Right? And then when Trump started flipping on them, oh my God, they start losing it. Now they got to like change their story. Yeah, well, regime change was never on the table. They trying to keep up with the changes that they got. And this is exhausting. It's exhausting. It got to be exhausting to be a Trump supporter. It got to be. It got to be. I don't care. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, accurate footage of Iran and Israel. I'll tell you. Oh, so let me ask you, Benny Johnson, because you remember how this played off. Do you remember, Benny Johnson, how this ended up going? Is our leader gonna be fed some hot chili peppers, Benny? Tell me. So yeah, man. Iran does not hate us because of Israel. Iran hates us because the Quran demands it.
Agree on this. Can we stop saying that we're fighting them over there so that we don't have to fight them over here?
Yes.
They're fighting us over there because we're over there. A recent study by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, I know that sounds like a bullshit organization.
It is a bullshit organization.
It is?
Yeah.
Why do you say that? I heard it was a very...
I've been studying it for years. How much time have you got?
Well, anyway...
You can hardly pronounce its name. I've known it for a long time. It is a bullshit organization. It's like the Lancet and the casualty figures. It's a junk science by junk scholars.
But, all right, tell me why I should believe...
However, you're right on your premise.
...that they really want to fight us in Dollywood, but they're not.
Well, let me give you an example from Mr. Jefferson, since you asked me to mention my book, which I happily do. Available, fine bookstores everywhere. In 1788, when the United States was barely a country...
Right.
Was having its sailors taken as slaves by the Barbary states, the states of the Ottoman Empire in North Africa.
Tripoli.
The
shores of Tripoli.
The shores of Tripoli. And its people, its ships stopped, its crews carried off into slavery. We estimate 1.5 million European and American slaves taken between 1750 and 1815. Okay. Jefferson and Adams went to their ambassador in London and said, why do you do this to us? The United States has never had a quarrel with the Muslim world of any kind. We weren't in the Crusades. We weren't in the war in Spain. Why do you do this to our people and our ships? Why do you plunder and enslave our people? And the ambassador said very plainly, Mr. Abdul Rahman said, because the Quran gives us permission to do so, because you are infidels. And that's our answer. And Jefferson said, well, in that case, I will send a navy which will crush your state, which he did. And a good thing, too. Islamic fundamentalism is not created by American democracy. It's a lie to say so. It's a masochistic lie. And it excuses those who are the real criminals, and it blames us for the attacks made upon us.
Man, nigga, we ain't listening to that shit. Shut the fuck up. Oh, back in the day, they said that the Quran said we can do that to you guys because you're infidels or whatever. No. Back in, 17, what? What did he say? Talk about his people were enslaved by Iranians? Bro, shut the fuck up. Our people were enslaved back then, so nobody has any pity for what you got to say right now. Plus, we all know what happened in 1950. And you want to talk about people who actually trying to take over and do a regime change. Why were you over there to get captured? Like Bill Maher said. He said it. Bill Maher said it clear as day in your face. They weren't fighting Americans over here. They were fighting Americans over there. Why were we there? Y'all sons of bitches could keep trying that shit. Oh yeah, they're gonna kill our people. Y'all need to understand they had blew up our invaders of their country, and that's not right. They was supposed to let us invade. Bro, go to bed. That shit is not working no more. What is this? If you're not Iranian, shut the fuck up about Israel. Okay, because we are extremely happy that they are destroying the IRGC. In case you needed more clarification, they are oppressing us, but they are oppressing us for the past 46 years, and they are turning and stealing from us. Okay. Now, torturing. Sorry, they are torturing and stealing from us. Okay. Now remember, I told you guys about these kind of Iranians, right? Because we have them out here. We have them everywhere. Every nation has someone who don't agree with their government and the rules of law and how things are ran in that country, right? Right. Now, a lot of them, especially in Iran and other countries, they are funded by us and other Western influencers. So people like her, one thing you have to check for when you listen to these kind of people that say, oh, Iran is bad, listen to me, I'm Iranian, I would know, I know the best, trust me. It's kind of like Officer Brandon Tatum who said black people are bad, trust me, I know, I'm black. It's all the same shit, right? You have to listen to their English. If their English is good, real good, she may not be one of them, personally.
Don't know anything.
Ah!
So if you're not Iranian, shut the fuck up about
Listen to
Israel
her.
and Iran's war, because we are extremely happy that they are destroying IRGC.
Really?
Because they destroyed us and our families.
You can't get your story straight. Hold on, let me see. It could be me. Hold on. I want to hear. She's a little low. I couldn't hear. Let's start this over. Turn it up. Her English is impeccable. Her English is amazing. Come on, lady. Talk to us. Uh-oh. What happened? I got hit. I think I got hit. Oh no. Hold on 1 second. Yep. I got hit. Oh no. Watch out for the green screen. You guys are about to get green screened on in a second. But yes, her English is amazing. So she's not the type of Iranian that you're going to want to listen to about their people being oppressed. No, she's a propagandist funded by some Western nation just to say, hey, we need to go over there and wreak havoc and create change for these people because that's what they want. Trust me, listen to her. She's one of them. And it ain't working. It is not working no more. And this ain't working. Shit. What happened? Oh, they hit me. Let me see. I'm going to close this real quick. Bam. All right. There you go. All right. But yeah, it's not working no more. And I love it. I love that they're going to keep foiling. They're going to keep foiling, trying to scramble, get us to be like, hey. So what's going on in Iran? You got us all on Twitter going back and forth, asking Grok the questions. Who started this? Grok over there telling the truth. Goddamn Grok. How dare Grok tell the truth and educate the American citizens? And Grok got the nerve to say, oh, America started this back in 1950 something. Yeah. And now all these people are trying to scramble and say, no. Trust us. Listen to us. And it just makes it puts it in perspective. When our parents were going through life, listening to the media, right? Television programming, emphasis on programming, right? They believe everything the news said. Everything. It didn't matter. The Iranian hate their people or they hate their government. So it didn't matter. So for years, 50, 60 years, we had this narrative. We believed this certain thing. So it's going to be hard for the old heads to understand that they were lied to. And it's okay, you got us. You got the younger generation here to fucking wake y'all up. But y'all trying to tell us that we're stupid. And we're like, nah, bro, you didn't hear about this, that, and the third. And 9 times out of 10, they didn't hear about it. You can give them some information that just was like some recent shit that had came out. It could have been some historical documents. Did you know in 17 something, something, something? And it would fly in the face of their narrative. And they would be like, nope, didn't happen. Nope, I don't care. Nope. I was like, damn, bro. I thought we all were humans and we had a certain idea and a certain way of thinking until like new evidence came out, until the facts changed. And if the facts change and black people aren't inherently dumb, maybe we can stop saying that. And yeah, we can all be humans and allow black folks in businesses. But some people really fucking holding on to the fact that America was so racist and they created this narrative that black folks are evil, they're bad, they're violent. And today we have our police department over policing us. So yeah, we need to just, I think it's dying out. I really think it's dying out. I think in the next 20 years, we'll be fine. You know, the kids, they don't think like their parents, you know. They don't think we should be in these forever wars and discriminating against Mexicans and blacks and Haitians and others. No. And they're going to be the leaders, the ones that are growing up now, that are taking up politics and going to school and getting a degree. They are going to be our next senators, mayors, judges, presidents. And they're not going to make the same decision that these old heads is making. All right, let's see what we got.
Iran will finally realize that they are the great traders that they are, going all the way back to the Persian Empire, and
he said that,
giving their oil reserves,
greatest traders,
and
going
they can
back to the Persian
be paid for that
Empire.
in return. It's capitalism. How about we start practicing that instead of threatening people with nuclear missiles, and we can all live and coexist in missiles, and we can all live and coexist in this one big beautiful planet of ours known
Right, big beautiful planet. Now, that's
as
a Trump
Earth.
speech.
And that's why President Trump continues his visits, his diplomacy to The Hague in the Netherlands. And it should be an extraordinary trip, as he should be wheels down roughly within the hour. And we'll take you there live here at RSBN to monitor all of that. Meanwhile, House Speaker Mike Johnson having a great press conference this morning, showcasing why the one big beautiful Mike Johnson having a great press conference this morning, showcasing why.
We're trying to figure it out right now. Could be them, could be me. I don't know. Well, no, I got excellent connection, so it's them. Hold up, let me hit this button.
The one big beautiful bill is of the utmost importance to get passed for those working in the United States, especially in Southeast Louisiana. The Majority Leader Steve Scalise bringing his constituents as well, speaking in favor of that great one big beautiful bill. Also, I'm just going through here now looking for Federalist number 70. I've come to it, which was written Saturday, March 15th, 1788. This is where Alexander Hamilton describes Article 2. The Executive Department further considered, and that Mike Johnson, our House Speaker, went into this in depth today regarding President Trump and his wartime powers and what he can do, and how he was within the Wartime Act of 1973 during Vietnam and the Nixon administration. And it's detailed right here. Alexander Hamilton does not mince words. In fact, if you read Federalist number 70, in effect, it almost makes the War Powers Act invalid from 1973, because it's very clear here from March 15th of 1788 that the President of the United States has certain wartime powers. And Congressman Thomas Massey is 110% wrong on this. And for some reason, these Kentucky Republicans, whether it be Mitch McConnell or Rand Paul, and especially Thomas Massey, siding with Democrats and not working with their caucus in order to bring much needed prosperity to the American people. So we've reached out to his office, and we hope he does come on. Congressman Massey, you're always welcome here for an interview on Right Side Broadcasting Network Live to explain your bizarre take, because what it looks like to me is that you're just grandstanding. And you're trying to, perhaps maybe get rid of your Trump derangement syndrome. But I hate the term rhino, Republican in name only. But you might as well run as a Democrat because those values seem to stand close to you and your Democrat colleagues. You're always with them. You're with Hakeem Jeffries pretty much every step of the way. And I like an independent thinker in Congress. I've always admired that. But just where the hell do you stand on prosperity for the American people and on our founding documents found right here, we the people, Federalist number 70, pretty damn clear about Article 2 and the war powers that President Trump does have in every commander-in-chief and the civilian leadership in this great.
But what he's missing on purpose, because he will be sued and then he would get the administration and a lot of shit. The president does have all of that power. You're right. If he declared that this was an actual war. So, Republican Congressman Massey and all the other Democrats want to know, since Trump is using Article 2, were we in a war? Were we? Because if we didn't declare war on Iran, then President Trump didn't have that ultimate power to make those decisions that you're citing in that 17 whatever yada yada date. No, he don't. Because of that simple shit. And y'all keep saying it. Y'all keep saying, no, this wasn't a war. This wasn't a war. This was just a limited military exercise. It wasn't a war. Okay, if it wasn't a fucking war, then Trump did not have the right to do what he did. It was unconstitutional. Simple. You need to learn something. So I hope Thomas Massey do take you up and come on your show and explain that little point to you.
See, as we were standing right under there, you could get somewhat of a vantage point of Constitution Avenue right in between the White House and the Washington Monument. But to see those big, beautiful fireworks over the Washington Monument was something I'll never forget. And to honor this great country in such a way, thank God we have a president who really is the biggest fan of this culture, of this government, and is leading it with unmatched ability. And to do that at 79 years young, after what his family has been through, fake impeachments, the Russia hoax, and assassination attempts.
Oh my God, this guy is flailing.
He's almost gained energy from all of it. I know a lot of people that could not handle the pressure he's under, but he seems to thrive off of it, all to save the American people and the American way of life. And on top of it, he takes $1 per quarter, donating the rest of it to different charities that need it. And nonprofits,
he takes
perhaps
$1?
Government buildings, and fixing the infrastructure.
Trump takes $1 per quarter and donate it to children's causes or some shit. Okay, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt that he misspoke, right? I mean, it's hard to be live streaming, covering the news, and get your thoughts right if you don't have a script. You know what I mean? Granted, so he probably misspoke, and he meant to say he takes 1/4 out of every dollar and give it to the children. Or were you right? And Trump takes $1 out of a 3-month period. $1 every quarter and donate it to children's causes. Hey, by the end of the year, he had donated a healthy $4. Oh,
and
shit.
it's an extraordinary trip
He's
to
trying
the
to
NATO
big Trump
summit
up and
to meet with
fumbling all over
royalty
himself.
and those other countries throughout Europe. We'll toss it there live now.
Yes. So Trump just went to The Hague in the Netherlands, and I don't know what this meeting is going to be about. We don't know. We don't know. We hear, though. We hear for more flip-flopping because we know most of the leaders during that committee, they condemned what America did when they dropped those bombs on Fordo and those other locations. And this seems to be our first trip, our president's first trip to these countries to discuss what was going on. We still haven't inspected to see the extent of the damage. So as of right now, everybody is in agreement, except for Fox News, that this was unconstitutional. It violated all type of agreements, even the agreements that was made with European nations and others. So yeah, he has some talking to do. And it seems like that's where he was on his way to when he was cussing out BB in fucking Iran this morning. The way he was on his way to that chopper, it's like somebody said, you better get your ass over here now. And Trump was like, bro, I'm in D.C., you in the Netherlands. And it was like, I don't give a shit. You better get over here right now. So on his way, you had the camera crew looking at him. He didn't get a chance to button his shirt or put on his tie. He just fucking run into the chopper. And Fox News and and CNN's asking him, hey, what happened? I thought, it was a ceasefire. And Trump is on his way to this chopper saying, these motherfuckers.
President Trump has landed in The Hague, Netherlands for the NATO summit.
These stupid ass countries, they don't know how to act. They acting like kids. It's almost like he's framing it to go talk to his parents in the Netherlands right now. He's getting ready to go talk to his parents in the Netherlands. And I bet you he say some shit like, look, I tried to mediate. I tried to get in the middle and they was tripping. And I thought my actions was going to help. Apparently it didn't. And they're both stupid, dumbasses. I agree. But there's a reason why he is rushed all the way to the Netherlands right now. Right now. They're not going to tell us. This guy on Fox News, you can tell that it's something serious because he's just creating this big ass ass-kissing Trump fucking segment that nobody's even thinking about. He brought up Russia. Remember the Russia? Bro, that was a while ago, bro. Is Trump in that much trouble that we got to bring up when the Democrats hit him with the Russia shit? Something's going on. And they going to lie to us until the truth come out on their face on social media. Watch. Shit's fucking crazy.
President Trump's one big beautiful bill will unleash an economy and deliver a blue-collar boom for American workers. It's fitting because I'm wearing my blue today. Bigger paychecks. Hardworking Americans and families will see an average increase in take-home pay of over $10,000 per year. Historic tax relief for workers, 15% tax cuts across the board for Americans earning between $30,000 to $80,000 per year. No taxes on overtime or tips. This saves overtime and tipped workers nearly $2,000 annually. Historic tax breaks for seniors introduces unprecedented financial relief for seniors. Made in America tax breaks, interest deduction for loans on new American-made vehicles, also a large standard deduction, keeping the double standard deduction used by 91% of taxpayers. This ensures that taxpayers keep more of their money with a simpler tax break, providing historic relief for working families across the board. This bolsters child tax credit, increases and makes permanent the child tax credit, supporting over 40 million families, supports working families, expanding child care access, and makes the paid leave tax credit.
When the CBO come out with the actual numbers, and it says how much debt it's going to add to the deficit, these sons of bitches be like, nope, CBO's wrong. And this is the this is part of the problem with partisan politics. God damn, say that shit 3 times fast. part of the problem with partisan politics. Because when the CBO is saying shit and criticizing the Democrats and saying how much money something's going to cost, oh, the Republicans are all on it. Oh, we can't do it. Look what the CBO said. But when it's the Republicans being criticized by the CBO, Republicans are like, nah, the CBO's trash. They don't know what it's talking about. They never calculate the growth. No, don't listen to it. And that's sad because it's American people, us. We're in the middle of it. We're like, shit, who do we believe? Republican? Democrat? Congressional Budget Office? None of y'all? We are left in the dark, bro. So, I don't know. Oh,